Hey guys, how are you? Happy Friday night. Um, y'all. I'm not even gonna tell you guys what happened. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm like, why can't I see how many people are in my live? Because I wasn't live. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Happy Friday night. I think I'm alerted out. I need to send, I need to do a post. Oh, you guys are coming on in. Okay, guys, this is look at the title. But this is not going to be as heavy as earlier. It's heavy though, but it's on some. I could have even played this on Love Lies and Lace Fronts. Naziah Harris's great aunt, so the sister of her grandmother, okay, and one of the other grandmother's sister's kids. So a big, you have that big older first cousin, okay? She was first cousins um to Naziah, but she was a big older cousin, okay? Because this family's all over the place. You got kids having kids at 11 years old, and you got, and yes, I said that correctly. A lot of overlapping generational situation. It's unbelievable. These are the notes I took so far. So if you were watching earlier, let me fill in some blanks for you. Okay, so Naziah's grandmother, her name is Annette. Annette was 11 when she was first pregnant. Annette had 7 kids, one of which was Naziah's mom. Naziah's mom, amongst a couple of her other brothers and sisters, chose to run away, live in the streets, things like that. Naziah is the product of a her mom being a side chick to a married man whose wife for years did not even know the man had a child. Okay. Um Naziah's mom was mentally not completely sound. She had been violated somewhere around 13 years old, too, which thus she ran away from Annette's home. Um, Shannon, who they mention a lot, is Shannon is sister to Naziah's mom. Um, and I think had her first kid maybe around 15, 16 years old. Okay. Just a lot. And Annette strikes me as the type of woman who keeps kids for a check. It's not, oh, I love the kids. I love foster caring. I'm just that house, the lady that sells candy and pickles, for the kids. So you don't have to walk up to the candy store type. No, she just wants a check. She will keep your kid for a check. Okay. Um, so I'm saying that so there's a community activist, I guess, in Detroit. She does a little podcast and has local people on about local issues, right? So they got an interview with a lady named Janelle, who is Annette's half sister. So Janelle says, I'm gonna play it for you guys. It's 2.5 hours. I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing, but you'll get the gist of it. Because I just watched the first hour and I got a lot. I was just like, well, damn. Um, she's the sister of Annette, which is Naziah's grandmother. Annette is Naziah. I don't know Naziah's mother's name. They don't really mention her. I'm sure it's out here somewhere. Naziah's father passed away, but Naziah's mother and father, her biological mother and father, Naziah's mother was working for this guy or working with this guy. The man was married. Naziah's mother had her on her own. The man was married with his own family. He really didn't have the time nor the bandwidth. He had the time to fool around and make a baby, but he didn't have time to be a father to Naziah. Naziah was the product of, some side chick situation, affair, whatever you want to call it, right? Wasn't the assailant the aunt's boyfriend or something? Yes. Yes to that. Let's just get into the video so you guys can watch. I wanted to lay some groundwork. I'm sure someone's going to come in late. Someone's going to ask questions. I'm going to be honest. If you can answer it in the comments, be my guest. But there, you got to scroll back. You're going to have to scroll back on this one. This one is going to be, this is a lot of information because Auntie Janelle is Annette's sister. Who is Annette? Naziah's grandmother. Keep in mind the ages are going to be like, well, damn, that was the grandmother. I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say Naziah's grandmother could have been a grandmother before she was even 30 years old. I'm just going to be straight up because her mom, so Annette had her first pregnancy at 11. Naziah's grandmother was a mother at like 12 years old with 7 kids, and all her kids, for the most part, have been some sort of victim of something, some sort of situation. And this lady had been allowed to be a foster mother. That's how Naziah went to go live with her grandmother. It wasn't because her grandma was, oh, baby, come up. Her grandmother liked to check. Her grandmother kept kids for a check. Her grandmother is the type that you hear about who takes custody of her kids um for a check. She'll be legal guardian for a check. So it sounds to me, right? That's what it sounds like. Let me let y'all hear if so, like Annette is the grandmother. Naziah's, let's just say Naziah's biological mom. I wouldn't say she's out of the picture. But she had her own demons. She had been the grandmother was violated at 11. Naziah's mother, I think they said somewhere probably about 12 or 13. And then Naziah, same age. This is a generational curse, yes. And the way Janelle tells it, the way she said it was, my father, Janelle says, my father got custody of Annette when she was around 11, or my father got her around 11. So if her father had to go get her, the mom, the great grandmama, wasn't nothing either. I'm sorry to say it like that, but that's just the truth. The man got Annette at 11. So when you're watching this panel, Janelle is going to say, my dad went and got Annette. She was 11 from her mama's house. So it runs deep, unfortunately. Okay. I thought y'all would want to see this because I think if you're going to watch the preliminary exam, this is some good, this will fill in the blanks. Now, these two aunties, Janelle is a great auntie. And this other lady, she reminds me of Salt from Salt and Pepper. Hold on a second. In a way. Did I pull this up yet? Y'all, when I'm okay, hold on. If anyone comes in and just tell them to slide back because it's too much. It's too much. And you'll be missing something. You know what I'm saying? Like this is you be missing. Like people need to watch this because this is the type of stuff that's happening up under people's noses, and these are the cases that we hear a lot about. People turning a blind eye, women who are thirsty. Shouts out to anybody thirsty out there who wants to be offended. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? This is the risk you put your kids in front of when you open up your bedroom and your home and your wallet and your resources to a man like Jarvis Butts. Okay. This is what happens. It's awful. It's awful, but it's happening right now to somebody else. Somebody else's. You know what I'm saying? Like this is out here happening right now. So this is okay. period. Okay. So again, this is now who the podcaster people are. These are some people out of Detroit. This lady right here, Lori. Lori is she's like a facilitator. She runs after school programs. So she's been a teacher. She's no relation to the family, okay? This is Lori, and Lori is doing this with another lady named Deborah, okay? So Lori and Deborah are people who are interviewing them on their channel. They're interviewing Janelle and Kawana. Janelle is the grandmother's sister, so she's Annette's sister, and Kawana is a cousin to Naziah. So Annette would have been Kawana's aunt. But keep in mind, you got a family where people had kids early and may have had kids all the way to 30 and 40 years old. So they may have had a kid at like 15 and had their knee baby. You know how they used to call them like a knee baby? Like I'll just tell you, for instance, my brother is 17, almost 18 years older than our youngest sister. Okay. So the first one was born when mom, she was in her 20s. My dad first got married. And then by the time she's 43, they were having the last one. You know what I'm saying? So that type situation. So you might have an aunt or a cousin that should be like an auntie age, right? Okay. And this is on a channel called Community Advocate Network. I'll drop the link when we're done. But like I said, if I can advance the speed, I'm going to advance it just a little bit. So it's not too fast, but girl, we don't have to be here on normal speed, but I'm going to do like 1.15 just to see. Okay. All right, guys. Oh, thank you. You guys are sweet. Thank you for dropping me some love on a Friday night. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. When I hear about these, especially in this 12, 13, 14 range, this happens every day. You know how they say throwaways, things like that. So Naziah wasn't a runaway, but nobody was paying attention. Annette, the grandmother, she had a ton of kids in the house. Damn near all the kids were foster kids. She's that granny who has custody over her kids' kids to get a check. So you got some ain't shit. You're an ain't shit ass, but now you're grown, and you think your kids are an ain't shit ass because they're mirroring your own ratchet ass behavior. So you go with a little suit on downtown and get custody and get a foster check or a social security check, type thing. Okay. And then keep in mind, Naziah's father passed away, but I don't know that he ever legitimized her. He might have just been sending money, because his wife at a certain point didn't even know Naziah existed. Okay. So yes, he was paying child support, but it was probably more like some hush money. Let the truth be told. Because if his wife didn't know, why would you pay under the table child support? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you just pay it through the system? But he was paying child support and his wife did not know, which to me was a convenient way for him to, you know, not lose his relationship over making a baby while having an affair. Okay. All right, let's get into it. Y'all gonna really have to pay attention and listen. Okay, so this is the hostess. She's coming on. There's two hostesses. All right, let's. Girl.
I'm Janelle. So upon welcoming all of you guys, I would like for Janelle and Kawana to come in and introduce themselves about Nigel. What type of person?
And the lady, bless Lori. Lori has a good heart, but Lori can't say Naziah's name to save her life. It's okay. They got her in the comments. But what people don't realize is people are podcasting at home, and everybody doesn't have a journalism degree. Everybody is not a media specialist. This lady runs daycares, and through their connections they got these two people, so I'm grateful for that. Everybody's not going to do everything perfect, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, of course they got them together in the comments about not being able to pronounce Nazia's name, Miss Lori. But you know, she did the best she could. She asked a lot of really good questions, but she might just be one of these people who's just not amazing with names. So but Jernell right here, the lady at the top with the gray, that is Nazia's grandmother's sister I was telling you about. And Kawana right here, Kawana is a cousin. She was a cousin. She was like big cousin to Nazia. Okay. And if you're just now coming in, scroll the bar back because I laid out the dynamics. It's too much to tell. So just either just go with it, and also all your questions will be answered too. Like they're going to talk about all this.
Was she what is some of her background? Just kind of fill us in on the truth of Nigeria.
You want to go first, Kiwana, or you want me to go? Or
you can go. It's fine.
Nazia was sweet. She was quiet, affectionate. She was an innocent child. She loved to dance. Ever since she was small, 6 months old, she could dance better than most grown people. Really good in school. Well behaved. She was isolated, so she didn't get the opportunity to even achieve her full potential.
Okay, Kawana, do you want to share?
Yeah, she was, like she said, she was a really loving young lady. She loved attention. She loved being around family. She was the typical little girl. She really was. And as she said, she just didn't have, the proper support.
Okay, and I like to let the audience know, Nigeria, that name is kind of like a little different name for me, Nigeria. She was a young 13-year-old coming home from school on the school bus as any other child would have. And for what all we know for right now, that she never made it home. Nigeria was really just basically in the limelight that she was about to just go. Am I correct? Was she going home, or was she going to visit? Can you kind of tell us something about her getting off the bus and what came next?
For what we understand, she was supposed to get off the bus and go home. We've been isolated from the family because of our feelings towards situations going on in the household. But basically what we got information from family members who have spoken to us, she was supposed to come home and she didn't.
All right, let me just say this real quick because I don't want to interrupt too much or else we'll be up here all night. Jernell and Kawana are the family members who were calling CPS. And Annette would lie. She would either manipulate, maybe even threaten the kid. So I guess manipulation, the various types of manipulation, coercion, punishment, things like that, if they were to tell the social worker what was really going on. So when Jernell, they'll talk about a time where they really almost got Nazia out the house and her brother, who was a runaway. But Nazia's brother was too scared because the last time something had happened, he had gotten punished. So he just basically ran away again and is living on the streets. And according to Jernell, Annette, the grandmother, was okay with that because she's still getting her what? She's still getting her check. Okay. She gets a guardian check because Nazia's mother, she's messed up because she was abused at 13, just like her grandmother, Annette, was abused and started having children. She had her first child at 11, which means God, she could have been, we don't know what was happening to her, but she had her first child at 11. So, and Shannon, who is Nazia's mother's sister, had 5 kids by the time she was 25 by the pedo, the PDFer Jarvis. So Jarvis was her uncle. So it is a misnomer. Jarvis was her uncle, so to speak, because he was the father to Shannon's 5 kids. However, they were not married. And the man he claimed 13 kids, but they said he had upwards of 20, and it probably could have even been more than 20, because they said he had kids with everybody.
Okay. She was supposed to come home and she didn't, and she's 13 years old. So how do you have any idea, Kawana, how long it was before anyone realized that she was not home, she did not come home or get off the bus to come home, to go home?
You know, honestly, I think it was too long before anyone in the house realized that she didn't get off the bus and come home, because I would have realized right away that my child wasn't walking in the door at the normal time that they usually walk through the door.
And what was that time frame? Could you share with the audience the time frame before they really realized that she wasn't home?
Well, from what I read in like news reports and things like that, and the police that I talked to, she should have been arriving home a little bit after 3 o'clock. I even went over there and sat on the corner of Cornwall and Auto Drive and watched the buses come. I wasn't exactly sure which bus she was on, but all the buses came within 2 to 3 minutes of each other and were gone by 3:10. So she should have been home between 3 and 3:15, because the house is right around the corner from the bus stop. Not even a 5-minute walk.
Literally.
So again, has anyone figured out the amount of time what was the time frame that she actually became missing?
We know they said that she went missing after getting off of the bus. That's all we know. We just learned recently that they didn't realize she was missing until around 6 o'clock.
And that's when was the police called? Did the mother, the guardian notify the police?
No, all the information we received is that they claimed that they went to look for her, but no neighbors on that block. We went and asked when we passed out flyers. The neighbors on that block said they didn't even know a little girl was missing, especially not the little girl from that house, because they were familiar with that house.
Right. They were familiar with the house.
Yeah.
Were there any other children, young children, older
that's the house where all them
house?
kids live. That it's one of those houses, you know, the house on the block where all the kids live. Okay. Even though it sounds like they were all family, but that's the house where all them kids live. They said sometime there could be 11 kids living up in that house.
That you know of?
Multiple children frequent that household and live in that household. At least, let me see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 11 children.
Wow.
Have lived in that house recently. And currently there are 7 that live there and 2 others that may possibly still frequent that household.
One of the things, Lori, if I can interject for a second, one of the questions that is commonly asked in terms of the family, I want to, get through this and go on to some other things, but not only were there a lot of small children in the house, it has become public knowledge in terms of, number one, everybody knows Jarvis Butts, who is been identified as the suspect in this crime, and of course, as of today, has been bound over to trial to face all of those charges and even increased charges. The prosecutor added, or it upgraded, I think it's the better term, a charge today. So we are grateful for that. But one of the questions that I get a lot in the comments is asking about the grandmother's history in terms of her having her own children and how she was able to get foster children. And then was Jarvis Butts living in the home or not? Things like that. If you guys could clarify for us any, whatever information you can share, because of course this is still an ongoing investigation. So we don't want to say anything that's going to interfere with that process, but anything that you guys can share in terms of the dynamics of the home, as far as the access maybe that Jarvis had to the children, You said how many children were in the house, but again, like I said, with the public already being aware that there was issues with the grandmother, would you either one of you know how she was able to bring in foster children in the home?
You want to answer that, Kiwana? You want me to answer it?
It don't matter. You can answer.
Lies. She lied.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that foster care didn't do a very good check on her when she was able to even get custody of Naziah and her brother, as well as not as when she was able to get the other foster children she has cared for, as well as the 2 children that she fostered and has adopted.
And also, I would like to add, we found that she had only made them aware that she had 2 children, and she has more than 2 children. So I don't know if cases were missed from that. I'm not sure, but
she has 7 children, and from what I understand, I have people I know who work in foster care and things like that. They ask you about your children. They want to interview your children, see how your children are, how they turned out, where they life with, what type of upbringing they had. Well, unfortunately, out of her 7 children, the first one ran away at a very young age. The second one, he stayed home to 18 and went to school.
Just so you know, she's talking about, this is Jernell right here who's talking. She's talking about Naziah's grandmother. So just when they talk about Annette is the grandmother. Shannon is the aunt. Shannon is the sister to Naziah's mother. Okay. Just to be clear, so you know who they're talking about. Okay. But Annette had some obvious issues. So she's gonna tell the girl. I watched a little over an hour of this, and I mean, I was like, my mouth was open. I was like, I can't even watch anymore. I said, let me go and get the girls and let's go ahead, because it was like, this too much. It's too much. Okay. This is really, I think this trial is going to be, the preliminary phase was unbelievable. The information that came out and what's going to come out.
Then Zaya's mother, she has had some difficulties in life and ran away at 13. Then the next child ran away at 16. Then the next child left at 17 or 18, at 16, difficulties. Then he stayed home to 18 and was at a very young age. Out of her 7 children, the first one ran away at a very young age. The second one, he stayed home to 18 and went to school. Then Zaya's mother, she has had some difficulties in life and ran away at 13. Then the next child ran away at 16. Then the next child left at 17 or 18. And they just all have been going through some triumphs in their life that we feel they would have never had to go through if they had had better parenting. This is one reason why my father, my father and my grandmother tried to help Annette when she was young. And she wasn't receptive to the help that she received. My grandmother and father got her 11 years old. She was pregnant.
So her father and her grandmother got Annette, Naziah's grandmother, at 11 years old. She was already pregnant. So so Jernell obviously has a different mother from Annette, right? So Annette was over there, I guess, over on her mom's side, and the father had to come get her. Okay. And they're in their 40s now, Annette. So, which means that they're like 80s babies. Come on now. The father going to pick up the little girl, it was bad. Fran, can you please check your IG DMs? Nothing to do with now. Okay, I'll check it when we're done. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I'm behind on comments. You guys are good. Just talk to each other. The best way, if you're coming in right now, we're only 30 minutes in. Just go ahead and slide back or roll, or just roll in. It'll all make sense. Just roll in. It's gonna make sense. We just got started. Okay. Or slide back.
My grandmother helped her get a HUD home, pay for attorneys to help her get her baby because he ended up becoming a ward of the state because she was so young. And Annette just continued to be promiscuous and things like that. But she was a victim of a lot of trauma herself.
Yeah.
So her children, they have some issues too. You know, everybody got their problems, but it's to the extreme.
If I may ask, Deborah, I'd like to ask this question: how did the alleged accuser, how did he even come into contact? I'm trying to figure out, how did she get in contact with him? She lived in one residence and he lived in another. What was the connection of the contact?
As far as Naziah,
yes,
her aunt, my niece, her aunt Shannon, that was her boyfriend, the father of her children. Wherever Shannon was, he was.
Okay. So I guess a lot of the people, I'm getting some people are dinging me on the other end, but they're trying to understand. They thought that the child lived with the aunt.
No, Naziah was living with her grandmother, Annette. But Shannon was always over Annette's house prior to moving back in with her. I think she moved back in maybe August or something of 2023. She was living in a townhome that I let her live in. She was living in a townhome. It was a Section 8 townhome. I incomed out of it when I graduated from nursing school. I signed it over to her thinking it would be a stepping stone to help her and her children. And we would keep it in the family, and maybe the next person who needed a stepping stone to go finish school or whatever could use it. Well, Shannon got evicted from that townhome because of her and her shenanigans with Jarvis. So she ended up having to move back in with Annette sometime in August or September of 2023. That's how she got back in the home with Annette. But prior to that, Naziah was with Shannon all the time in her home. And Jarvis was where Shannon was when he was with Shannon and not the others that he was with.
Does anybody know how he was able to stay in the house with minors, being that he had been a sex offender, even imprisoned?
We were told that he was no longer on parole.
So they're not trying to explain it away. These two, Kawana and Jernell, are actually estranged from Annette and Shannon, which who cares about that because they're gross anyway, because they're the ones who were calling CPS on Naziah. They reported it. They're going to tell a story about how they almost got one of the kids out the house. This is a situation where the abuse runs very deep and the children were conditioned to not tell, probably when they knew CPS or social workers, because the grandmother basically, like you might have a profession, you might be a professional, you might be this, that, or the third. It sounds like Annette basically cultivated a paycheck around taking care of her kids, and her kids and maybe some other kids. So she basically, her job was foster care, through guardianship of her grandchildren who were in bad situations because of her poor parenting. And they're going to bring up that like Annette shouldn't have even been a foster mother. So they're not really trying to explain this away. They're not part of the family that's covering up for, not to say that there is family covering up, but they are exposing and they're giving a lot of information. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up. They're not covering anything up. We're just getting started. We're only 13 minutes in, and this is a 2.5 hour interview. So they're getting ready to drop. You know, I mean, I hate to use the word tea, but they're getting ready to tell all the family business. Put it that way.
And that he could be around children. But I thought the law was that you can't even live in.
Wait, let me go back.
Minors, how?
So they're asking, how was Jarvis around Shannon? Jarvis was around Shannon because He'd been around her for over 10 years. Keep in mind, Shannon's only 26, 27 years old, which means, and Jarvis is 41. So Jarvis was in his late 20s, early 30s, messing with Shannon and fathering 5 children with her and helping himself to Neziah.
He was able to stay in the house with minors, being that he had been a sex offender, even imprisoned.
We were told that he was no longer on parole and that he could be around children. But I thought the law was that you can't even live in the vicinity of school. So how is it that you can live in a house with children that are not yours, which it really didn't matter if they was his or not? He violated them. So, but that's what we were told. Most recently, when all this stuff happened, they said that's why.
Yeah.
So,
also,
yeah, go ahead, Kiwana.
We were told that most recently, and also I was told that upon me calling Protective Services while Shannon was living in Clinton Township, my question to them was just that: why and how is he allowed to be around the children? Because we kept constantly being told that they're not finding any signs of abuse, and so that was one of my questions. Well, there's a pedophile in and out the home,
Right.
basically living there, on a regular basis. Isn't that enough? And that's what they told me. That it wasn't.
I want to get off into that too, in terms of the CPS cases. I want to cover that, but now I think I remember correctly, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, that there was something, or at some point, Jarvis was not on the registry, sex offender registry. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, when I initially found out that Jarvis was a sex offender, it was almost 12 years ago.
Wow.
And I asked Shannon about it. She didn't tell me. I stumbled over it because of a situation where he had got arrested and had her daughter in his custody at that time. He had the child, and we had to go get the baby because he got arrested. So I was looking him up to see what he got arrested for. And then it popped up his oldest information saying that he was a sex offender and had sexually assaulted a child under the age of 13. And I looked at Shannon and I was like, Shannon, he's a sex offender. Yeah, he said the girl lied. I'm like, it says the girl was 13, and then I did the math on his age. I said he was 24. So it ain't no lie there. Yeah, but he did his time. And I'm like, nah, nope. I was like, you need to leave him alone. Over the course of the
That's the thing that got me when she said, well, yeah, he did his time. But keep in mind that Shannon and Neziah's mother are the products, their mom was abused, their mother, Neziah's mother was abused, the aunt abused, and she's, well, yeah, he did his time. See, Jernell and Kawana are like the voices of reason. And even Kawana's going to say this. It got to a point where they felt like they were the ops. And it was like, they're nosy. We're not dealing with them. They're too much in our business type thing. And I think at the end of the day, at least for Annette, I would just say Annette wanted that check. Shannon wanted Jarvis.
years, I
Jarvis
would tell her,
didn't want
you need
her.
to leave him alone. He was not good to her. He did not treat her well. He did not teach the children well at all. He fathered them. He created them, but he was not a father figure that I would have tried to hang on to for the kids. But anyways, I looked on the sex offender registry and saw that he was not on there. So I called, and that's when they went after him. And eventually, maybe about 6 months later, he had to report. They register him, and he ended up on the sex offender registry.
So he was supposed to be on the registry the whole time.
The whole time, and this was like 12 years ago. But get this, his last report is 2019. He hasn't reported for the sex offender registry since 2019. So he probably wasn't reporting it very often in between those times either.
Yeah. So you said he fathered some children. So you're saying that in the time frame that he was with your stepsister?
No, he was with my niece Shannon.
Your niece Shannon, that he actually fathered some children in the home or outside the home?
He has 5 children with Shannon. It was almost 6.
Oh, okay. And okay.
Yeah. There's a question though that popped up as well in the comment section about him having 13 children.
He has more than 13.
I've listened to other podcasts covering the story, and I heard the number 20.
20.
He has more than 20 children.
He has more than 20 children.
He has adult children that are almost the age of Shannon.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
What is she in her early 30s, right?
Shannon's 31, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think his oldest daughter is around the age of 26, 27. He's my age.
So he might have been sexual, I mean, look, a 14, 15-year-old boy, that can happen, but it is not common for a 14, 15-year-old boy to have a baby. Yes, 14, 15-year-olds do engage, but you don't hear about boys having babies at 14 and 15. I mean, it happens, but the man's 41 years old and his oldest is damn near 30. So 27, that would mean he was, and it could be one of those things where there were older women, because there are grown women who don't mind. I mean, how many, like, we see this a lot, God bless our teachers. I have a sister who's a teacher and all that, but we see a lot of women, unfortunately, who may be teachers, take advantage of young students. We've seen that a lot. So that's on the flip side, where you see a boy having a kid at that age. I don't know what the circumstances were. Was it another teenager? Was it an older woman? So we're not feeling sorry for Jarvis. I mean, Jarvis at a certain age needed to know, and I'm sure he's been, so he spent time in prison, but at the end of the day, this is a dynamic, and I'm sure we're going to hear all about this when it goes to trial. Someone said in the chat they didn't think it was going to go to trial. You think he's going to, whoever said that, do you think he's going to just go ahead and plead guilty and spare himself and spare everyone else this drama and further trauma? But the judge did bind it over, so he's going to trial. His bind over date was the 16th, so we're gonna see. Yes, but that's nothing, because he had younger than that and his own children.
He's 42.
Yeah, because even the judge said it in her ruling that he had 13 children, and I think it came from that interrogation he did with the detectives, and I guess maybe he only claims 13 of them. But
that's his lucky number. He says that all the time.
Oh yeah. I thought I remembered hearing the number 20, but as far as that is concerned, he has other children with underage girls.
From what I understand,
with the children he already has, right?
Yeah, from what I understand, his older children were all with girls in their teens, and he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
And then along the time when Shannon was dating him, and they was going back and forth with each other, there was a young lady who was like 18 who said that her child was his. I don't know whatever came along with that, but yeah, it's possibly she's one of the young ladies that's listed on the front of the court registry.
So do you think, I guess I might, Deborah, please don't let me get ahead of myself, but I have to ask this question. Did Nazia, did she ever show or talk or say anything to anybody? I mean, any hints,
Yes,
the world wants to know. I mean, this is a
did.
young 13-year-old child, and from my understanding, this took place a year ago. Today.
She told. No,
she did tell.
It all started, my issue, me and Shannon were thick as thieves. I love the children. I would go around, went to Disney World, we traveled together. Then she called me and told me that it was a birthday party in February of 2022 for her second daughter's birthday. And most of the children, pretty much all the children were at the house, the grandchildren. There's one little girl who was Annette's other sister's daughter was there. Now, this child had never been around Jarvis alone before. I think she might have been at the birthday party or something, adult birthday party, but it was at a hall. But she was at Shannon's home, and this young lady was so afraid. Shannon's telling me this. She ran upstairs, frantic and afraid and scared, and wanting to go home and wanted to call her mother, because Jarvis touched her inappropriately while she was in the basement playing with the puppy.
So they said Shannon's other sister. So what that says to me is not Annette's kids. So Shannon's sister from another mother. Because this is a family tree that is extensive because there's multiple baby fathers. The fathers have, whether they only have one kid or not, there's multiple families going on here because there's Annette and her baby fathers and then their families, right? Because I don't think that there was ever really a man in the home. It was just, relationships and bringing home a kid and maybe on to the next guy for grandmother Annette and her 7 children.
Wow, this little group. Now, Jarvis was on a game. He wasn't thinking about going up there with Shannon or nothing. Shannon says all of a sudden, while she's up there, she's trying to calm this little girl down and talk to her. Jarvis comes and knocks on the door and says, "What's wrong with her?" And I said, "Shannon, why are you calling me? Is he dead or is he in jail?"
Mm-hmm.
No, he left. What you mean he left? Call the police. Let them know where he's going, what car he's in.
Right.
Well, I'm about to take her home, then I'm going to call my mama. What? So I called her back like maybe 30 minutes later. Like, did you call the police? No, my mama said bring the kids home tomorrow morning. She going to talk to him. I'm like, no, y'all don't need to talk to him. You need to contact the police. She did not contact the police. I found out later the police were never contacted. The next day when I called Shannon, I talked to her. She said, my mama talked to them and said the kids ended up telling us they lied. They was mad because he wouldn't give them no money. So I called Annette and I said, Annette, are you guys going to call the police? She said, yes, we're handling. I'm going to call the police. So I left it alone. Like, she's going to call the police. Shannon assured me that the police had been called. They were involved. There was an investigation going on. All of this. This was in February 22. Well, in April of 22, I called Shannon in a lie. The police were never called. The children were not receiving counseling. Nothing had happened. So I went to the Clinton Township Police and I told them that I wanted to make a report. They told me I couldn't make a report because I didn't have enough information about the child who actually accused him of the sexual abuse. I said, but the other children also accused him of sexual abuse. They said, well, they didn't happen that night. And I'm like, she said it would probably be best for you to call CPS. So I called CPS and I told Shannon I called CPS. I said, if y'all didn't call, I told you to call the police. I told you to get the kids help. You didn't do it. So I'm calling CPS. I'm not only you, but I'm calling them on your mama too. Because it happens, whatever's happening at your house is most likely happening at your mother's house. They never called. And then that's when Kiwana got involved. I didn't, my husband knew what was going on. And a few other people who knew Shannon because she had told them stories. But this is how Kiwana got involved. So I'll let Kiwana tell what happened on her end.
So then I end up going over there to drop off Naziah some clothing. And once I got there, Shannon pulled me to the side and said, I got to tell you something. And I go, okay, what's going on, little cuz? And she said, that Janelle and called protective services on me and lied and said that Jarvis was doing something to the kids. I said, what? What do you mean she called protective services to say Jarvis was doing something to the kids? How would that come about? So that's when she went to tell me, it was a party. And she explained that what happened at the party and that they ended up questioning the children, and her daughter, along with Naziah, along with my other little cousin, which I've never met, had expressed to her that Jarvis offered them monies to do things inappropriately. She said, however, she found later on that her daughter was lying. And I said, Shannon, kids don't lie about stuff like that. But a child not gonna come and tell that something like that happened and just be lying. You need to further investigate. No, that Janelle just trying to start some stuff. I said, no, I don't feel like she's trying to start no stuff. I feel like she care and concerned about what's going on in the household as far as the children. This is outside of you and her relationship. This is about looking out for the children. And so we began to go back and forth. And I became, what she like to call it, being as though now I'm taking up for the kids. So I contacted Janelle and said, what's going on? Because we hadn't talked for a little while. And I said, explain to her what I had heard and what Shannon had said. And she told me what happened and what transpired. So that's when I called protective services.
Could you tell me the length of time it was before either one of you call, because it seemed like it was a long stretch before the
The
police
initial
and
incident
Child
happened.
Protective Services was notified.
It was the initial incident happened in February of 2022. I was told that
Right.
the authorities were involved. When I found out that the authorities were not involved, Shannon was lying to me.
22 or 24?
22.
22.
Whoa, okay.
So in the April of 22, I figured out another incident happened where a child was doing some sexually inappropriate things. And I said, well, what's going on with the case? And isn't she in counseling? And you need to go to the police and take the phone. She sent the pictures to somebody on Instagram. She had told somebody else. She tell people this stuff like it's nothing. Like it's the normal everyday thing. She told somebody who wouldn't even related her to this story, and they called me to tell me what she said. And then I called her to ask her about it. So that's when I called CPS in April when I found out she.
Let me just say this. You know why Shannon tells people like it's nothing? Because it happened to her. It happened to her mother. It happened to her mother's mother. And for them, it's probably normal. Like she doesn't see anything wrong with what Jarvis is doing, even if she doesn't like it. This is something that's been happening. She just probably considers it another woman that he's cheating with or something like that. Like it's weird. It's weird. There aren't any. The men in the family. So let's just say the boy children, the children. So Miss Annette, the grandmother, the men in the house would be young adults, and they all get run off. The boys run away. Because you have this is my opinion. You probably have you have a hypersexual female domination in there that are allowing inappropriate relationships, whether it could be smoking, drinking. Granny got this boyfriend, that boyfriend, another boyfriend. And it's probably not something that a boy child can absorb watching his grandmother, his mother. So they're going to have a problem with it. A boy who feels powerless to protect the women in the home. The boys all ran away. If you heard her say that, they ran away or they leave. No one's there. The girls, the dysfunctional girls, stay with the dysfunctional mom. And the mom has guardianship over the dysfunctional daughter's kids so she can get a government check. They probably split it.
She had lied to me.
April, which year?
2022.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then Kiwana called me. I don't even think it was like maybe 3-4 weeks later. Kiwana called. Other family members had already called and were calling when all of this was going on because I wasn't getting any response from CPS. The CPS worker that I talked to told me the children denied it. I said, so look at the adults. If the children are not going to tell you I said, would you take the children out of the household and question them? No. I'm like, because they're afraid to say anything because they're in the Shannon and Annette looking right in their face. Then I said, if the children are not going to tell it because they're afraid, then start looking into the adults. Well, we haven't found any credibility of the complaint.
Even with him in the house, been in prison.
She told me that he was not on parole and he could be in the house around children.
But he had been to prison for the same accusation. No, not accusation. He was convicted and imprisoned for the same thing.
This is what troubles me. I made this complaint in April of 2022. And there were several other complaints by myself, Kiwana, and other family members after that. This man had a CPS case basically stating the same thing in 2015 and 2018 from completely different families.
Yeah, sure did. And also
no girlfriends.
Sure did. And after I end up calling Protective Services, one of the children had began to contact me and express things that were going on in the house, right? Because, I talked regularly with the children, even when they tried to isolate me, I'm not going to say names of the children, but one of the eldest children would try to contact me. or contact me outside of their knowledge. It began them having to sneak and call me now because, you know, they don't want us around. You know, we get in their business. We're calling protective services. And so, you know, I went on to, you know, talk to workers, try to get custody, continue to call. I made calls not just in Wayne County, but again in Clinton Township. So there was calls, Clinton Township, Wayne County. The Clinton Township calls was against Shannon. Wayne County was against Auntie and their household. And then both stories were being told to both protective services, that city and this in that city. And
yep. We did get a little bit of action. A little bit. Action when it was another young man who was much older than Naziah that she was acquainted with. And that's the reason why Annette had to move, is what I was told. She had to move away from that young man because Naziah was having an inappropriate relationship with him. And that's the reason why.
Is this the autistic guy?
Yes. And then I also was told that they told Shannon at this point that Jarvis could not come around the children.
Who told her that?
CPS.
Okay.
This is what I was told by someone. I don't know for sure, but this is what I was told by someone at CPS that Shannon, that he was not supposed to be around the children at that point because I guess we had called so many times.
Right. Oh, yeah. I want to go back to something real quick when Lori was asking about if Naziah had said anything or you know, that it would gave any type of inclination that anything was wrong. And I want to mention this from the court proceedings that have been going on this week when the teacher or substitute teacher testified that the last day was, I presume it was the last day that Naziah was in school. She came in her room. Apparently this particular sub had a rapport with Naziah. She would give her candy every day or something like that. And she would come in her room and talk to her. And the lady said that Naziah laid on the floor and said she needs to see a counselor. But it so happened that the counselor never came in that day. And so, and of course, we didn't see her anymore. So that was one thing. And then I wanted to ask you guys about this. If you were aware of this that I heard on one of the videos from another podcast. It said, okay, that Naziah was telling her classmates that she was planning to run away because she was pregnant. Had you guys heard anything about that?
Yeah, we heard so much. That was after she went missing. So yeah, we've heard that. We have heard every accusation, scam. Yeah, we heard that.
Okay. I wanted to clear that up. And then also now I believe Kiwana, you pretty much grew up around Naziah's mom and being close to in the unit and being in Naziah's life actively. Well, I guess both of you were in her life actively up until the case was being filed and whatever rift caused the family to that broke down the family. So yeah, can you talk about, Kiwana, how well, first of all, let's clarify for the public how long Jarvis has been around, because the information that is out there, only indicates that he started abusing Naziah as far back as 2022, but there's a question that it may have probably more than likely had gone on much longer. So let's establish for them, exactly how long, when did you all become aware that he was around, like when Shannon was dating him and all of that, those types of things, to give, to clarify. Basically, I want to get rid of some misinformation that's out there.
So
go ahead.
No, good. Yeah, Kiwana.
So Jarvis have been around since Shannon was 16, right?
We didn't know about it until later, but yeah, after she had her daughter, he had been. Right. We found out during this whole ordeal that she had been acquainted with him since she was about 16.
Right. And we had no clue, not just that he was the age that he was, but no clue that he had a record, you know?
Right. Yeah, but and I think that's
a record of being a pedophile. Let me say that.
right. Yeah, because that's a lot of the thing is, where was the family? Oh, and the other thing is, let's clarify, and we don't have to go into extensive details about her mom, but can we please clarify, just a general idea of her mother and the father. We know that the father did pass away last year, but if you guys can share with us just a little bit, just to put that to rest so that people understand what the dynamics are.
I'll speak on her mother because I really didn't have a relationship with her father. Kiwana knows him better than I do. Her mother loved her. She loved her children. She just had, like I said, she grew up with Annette in a household, and she went through the same thing at 13 as Naziah. So she had a lot on her, and no one ever got her help. So and she loved her children. She just couldn't fight those demons that were chasing her. When all this stuff was going on with Naziah, we finally caught up with her because people were lying, and specifically Annette and people in the family were saying that she just left. She never left. She said, I'm staying here until y'all find out what happened to my baby. But she just staying out the way because Annette was trying to say she had something to do with it. Other people were trying to say, when actually she was the first person to give the police the information they needed to try to figure out what happened to Naziah.
Oh, wow.
But when we found her just talking to her, she said, this stuff just keep on falling, this sex stuff. She said, it's just keep on chasing me. It's chasing me. Now it's got my baby.
Oh my God.
So this is really sad. This is, something not to, I hate to, I'm not trying to cut you off, but there's just a whole lot going on in my head right now because working in early childhood development and I'm thinking 10, 12-year-old girl. I have 10 and 12-year-old children in my before and after school program, summer camp, and all of this. So I'm saying to myself, where was the indication at school that something was going on with Naziah?
There were several indications at school, but the school would call Annette instead of going through the proper channels. You tell me this, if a child is on a playground and a car pulls up to a vicinity where the child can talk to them through a fence, and the child is talking to them and the teacher goes over and say, hey, who are you talking to? And the guy says, I'm her dad. And the child agrees, yes, that's my dad. Do you call the grandmother or do you make a report as well as calling her grandmother?
No, in that case, no, until I get the child information card and verify who that father is with the identification, he would leave until he's ID'd.
Well, Lori, let's look at it this way. When I get the child identification card, mom's boyfriend can be on an identification card. You know how many women will put their boyfriend over the father because they live together and he's more likely to pick up than the actual dad if the dad lives in another state or the dad's not being bothered or they got beef. I mean, Lori, come on now. Not to say that was the case, but that girl on that one, the card that they fill out at the school, I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything. It's just it's a snapshot in time of who you want to be contacted if you're not available as the mother to pick up a kid. And clearly Shannon or Naziah's mother, her guardians, were not making good decisions. So that card means nothing to a child who's at risk, whose guardians are putting bogus ass, untrustworthy people on the card.
Well, he pulled off once the teacher started questioning him. And then when they talked to Annette, she referred that Naziah did not have a relationship with her father. So what did they do after that? Like, for the safety.
So I guess she's saying that there was a time where Jarvis pulled up on Naziah at school to be cute, probably trying to check up on her, make whatever the reason was, and they called Annette, and Annette said, well, that couldn't have been her father because she doesn't have a relationship with her father because, like I told you guys, Naziah's father was married with a family, and his wife didn't even know Naziah existed. They're gonna say that in a minute.
Not only Naziah, I feel like some type of report or police report should have been made for the safety of any other child he may have came back and tried to talk to. Because they didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I would think that it would have at
What do you
least
mean?
been
This is
documented
all
that an
taking
adult
place in
male was
Michigan.
spotted,
All
observed,
these people live in Detroit.
interacting with the child in the schoolyard or whatever, you know, blah, blah,
It's
blah.
Wayne County.
You know, I think that the school, well, it's clear that the school just
didn't follow proper protocol.
No, they weren't paying attention at all.
It's unbelievable the
If that happened.
amount of callousness between these social institutions, CPS, the police department, and the CPS, the police department, and the school as well. To the point, callousness to the point of liability, as far as I can see. I don't think that, and I don't anticipate there being any type of lawsuits or anything like that filed. But you know, they certainly, you know, everybody, you know, dropped the ball on this one. So
there's
Deborah,
there's a lot of accountability. A lot of accountability. I mean, there's a lot of people that need to be held, from me listening to this, accountable. And you know, even to the point where cell phone messages on cell phone. Who don't check a 13-year-old cell phone?
Messages on the school
who's
laptop.
paying for the cell phone?
Right.
Messages on the school laptop.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kiwana. The second half is about her dad.
Well, you know, he is deceased. I want to respect that, but I can say that you know, this started out a working relationship with him and my cousin. We met him together, actually. He spoke to me and we were having a conversation. And I went on to my vehicle and him and my cousin continued to converse and they exchanged numbers. And you know, they were talking about, you know, business. My lady works on houses. Kenyetta, her nickname is Lady. She works on houses and she's really good at it. And so he needed some help as far as, you know, his business. And that's how they met. And so they met a business relationship. She was with him regularly, like every day.
Okay, so Nizaya's mother, I guess, was named Kenyetta. So that's so she says they call her Lady, but her name is Kenyetta.
And you know, I wasn't with them on a daily basis, but I do know when she became pregnant with Nizaya. At first, her, you know, being a mother and, you know, dealing with a man in which, you know, he has a family and so on, she was torn between, was she gonna, you know, keep her child or not keep her child? And so she made a decision of keeping her child, with the expectation that they would parent her together. And some things happened along the lines, you know, he had a family at home and things got really ugly with them as far as that was concerned. And so Nizaya, from my understanding and from what my cousin was telling me, Nizaya wasn't seeing him regularly. However, from my understanding and what he told me is that he was trying to see her, and my aunt was making it hard for him to see her because at the time she was trying to get custody of the children. And so not even so much making it hard, but, you know, telling him that it's best for her to be her guardian because she can do the things for her that he can't do. Again, he had a situation. And at that time, his wife wasn't aware that Nizaya was born, you know? And
I mean, that's more than a situation. So you see, like, it's the cover now that I'm gonna say is the cover up. Now I appreciate Kawana trying to be nice about the situation, but a marriage is not a situation. This is a whole married man whose wife has no idea what he's up to, fathering children with Nizaya's mother, and God only knows how old Nizaya's mother was when she was born, because keep in mind, Nizaya's mother got violated at 13. So she could have been a young mother as well, considering that the grandmother probably wasn't even 40 years old. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even know how old Kenyetta was, and it's possible they didn't put the man on child support because he might have gone to jail. I mean, look at it this way. If she was under the age of consent, he could have been going somewhere out there fooling around behind his wife's back. Now the man passed away, so that's that on that, but we don't really know. We don't know how old Kenyatta is. Kenyatta is number 3 of Annette's children, but Annette started having children at 11. Okay? This is a mess,
She
y'all.
convinced him to let her. They came to an agreement that she would parent Naziah, so to say, and they end up moving. He lost contact, and so many things happened in between when they lost contact. He was consistently paying child support for.
Let me say something else too real quick. Does this not sound, not all of it completely, because obviously we're dealing with a young lady who was murdered, but the young lady who was sexually assaulted, who accused Nesto of sexual assault, her dad, her mom, it was like some sort of weird situation that almost sounds unbelievable. But when you hear this actually happening, and we know these stories happen every day, this is the same type of situation, because it's like, why would they send, who would have a young lady go and hang out with a man who's 50? Come on now. Okay.
From my understanding, he told me that personally, that he was consistent with paying his child support, whether that child support was being spent on Naziah or not. There were many times where she needed things, which was one of the reasons why I would take her clothes. Some new, some, I have 2 daughters, and my daughters, they like, nice things like any young person. And so Naziah is smaller than them, and we will pass it down. And not just me, they have 2 other cousins. I won't say their name. And the mother of one of my aunt's children, she same thing, her daughters. So we were looking out for Naziah as far as clothing and such. So yeah, that's that story. And then once this came about, with Naziah missing, he found out about it, and he was out there, like we were, as far as the organized searches is concerned, and passing out flyers. I met up with him a few times, and we were passing out flyers and so on. So there's that. They both made a mistake. But Naziah was none other than the blessing, and it's unfortunate that all this had to happen like this. It's really sad that not just her father, and the situation, her mother, and she's no longer here.
Can I ask the question? Did anyone know she was pregnant? I mean, at 13, I'm going to keep saying a young girl at 13. You are a mother, you're an auntie, you're a grandmother, whatever. You're going to notice somebody has to buy supplies.
I believe that they didn't know that she was pregnant. We did not know that she was pregnant until all of this happened. And then we saw the videos, and we started kind of like looking and assuming, like, right, wait a minute, it look like she's pregnant. And I personally feel strongly that they knew that she was pregnant.
Because mind you, we were no longer allowed to see them. So it was phone calls now. It was, I'm sneaking to call you to say hi, because they weren't allowed to talk to us. So that's how I was in communication, and that's how she was in communication. It was phone calls. We couldn't see them. So we weren't seeing them visually, aside from the oldest child. I won't say his name, but yeah.
Naziah would text every now and then if she can get a hold of a phone, or she would, I think one time she reached out to me on social media. The last time I saw Naziah was June of 2022, because I saw CPS in April, and I saw her June of 2022, and I was taking one of the other children with me, because I have a son that's close to age with one of the other children. They're very close, and I was taking them on a trip. It was like a Father's Day football trip or something, and I saw her that day, and she wanted to go, and I'm like, I'm gonna come back when I get back in town. We're gonna make plans. I'm gonna come and get you. Well, I tried to get her like a week and a half later, take her to lunch, let her spend the night, get her nails done, do something fun with her, and they told me that she could not go. Continuously tried to do things for the children, reach out to the children, spend time with the children, be around the children, and they wouldn't let us be around. I showed Deborah the text message where I tried to offer to pay for cheer. Like the boys, 2 of the older boys in the household were allowed to go and play football. And I'm like, well, all these years, these boys get to go play football. Well, they got a scholarship. I'm like, they got cheerleading scholarships too. And if they don't, I'll be willing to pay for her to go to cheer. Why she always got to sit in the house? Why she can't never go and do anything? They declined my offer for that.
And what really puzzled me was when Nizea said that
Robin, thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. I'm so sorry that happened to you. But yeah, these stories are really important because a lot of us don't even see what's going on. This is kind of like one of those behind closed doors, secrets, lots of threats, telling kids to be secretive and stuff like that. But it's also good. It's just a good reminder. You don't know what's going on in people's houses. We send our kids over to go play or go hang out, and there's all kinds of weird shit happening in people's homes. And it's just a good reminder to be vigilant. I know sometimes when my daughter wants to go hang out, I mean, I'll go and hang out and get to know the mom and see before I just like drop my kid off and take off and come back hours later, not really know what's going on in that household. So just to get a feel, but yeah, this is definitely a tough topic. I'm sorry that happened to you. I know there's a lot of survivors of home, trauma in the household. Yeah, because if we know more about it and can sense it or even just have a conversation, someone can be helped. And in extreme cases, there's kids who are there's kids who are dying, losing their lives, because now someone is scared because there's not just going to be a paper trail of people calling and complaining, but where there's smoke there's fire. But if you have a child, that is evidence. I mean, there's even we hear about it all the time. Some of these perpetrators will make a decision because now they're afraid because the person they've been victimizing is now having a baby. Just in the last year, I probably could think of about at least 5 to 10 cases. So this is sad. But this is a compelling like family story. So yeah, let's just keep listening. I mean, we got a ways to go. If we don't finish it up tonight, we can always watch the rest of it tomorrow, or I'll give you guys the link to go finish it up. But we got another little ways to go. But this is very this is a lot.
I need the medicine or whatever it was that she was saying she needed
her sanitary napkins. Yeah.
No, this was she needed something because gym was getting very, very difficult for her.
For her to do.
So that tells me that she had to be further along for it to start being a challenge for her to do activities in gym. So it tells me that somebody in the household, an adult somewhere, had to notice something. And I'm not just saying this to be ugly towards anybody out there, but this is real. This is a young 13-year-old girl that is pregnant that cannot buy her own sanitary napkins. I haven't heard anybody say she had a job. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
cleaning the shop.
Sam's Club stocks of this, or did you look at her? Did you, what? Because
I wouldn't put it past the they know somebody that was around her, whether it was one of the other children. But I really believe that the adults knew. I was a teenage girl. I was raised by my grandmother, and she kept the pad so she would know if I was coming to get them.
Absolutely.
And even if I came and got them, she said, "Let me see." She came in the bathroom to check me when I was 13, 14
I got two girls, and they're never without their personals. You know? Right. And not only that, but I pay too much attention to my daughters for them to walk
exactly.
around.
Do you touch your child? Do your child lay in a bed with you? Do you? Yeah. I remember at 13 climbing in the bed with my grandmother, laying on her, hugging on her always hugging on me, her coming in my room while I was undressed to see what I was putting on going to school that day. Because at that age 13, you want to wear the belly shirts, and she wasn't having that. But she stayed on top of me. She knew what I was doing, like what I was wearing. And if she saw me wearing sweatshirts and stuff all the time, she would have. I was 20 years old when I got pregnant with my first child. And she was like, she figured it out because I didn't tell nobody until I was further along. And she figured it out. She was like, "You pregnant?" I was like,
listen, let me tell you something. They can we don't have to even go to pregnancy. How about when you start having sex?
Yep.
And they can look in your eyes and tell you
the way you walk, the way
that
you
you're not a
smell, the way
virgin
you act,
anymore.
everything.
Come
So,
on.
you know,
How about your neck turning black? Why?
Yes.
What's
right.
going on with you? Yep.
Those,
Yep.
Listen, it's
So,
the generation, the people. I don't know what's going on with folks now.
but no, let's remember, Annette runs a tight ship. But all this was going on, and one of the babies was able to get taken off in the car to the store, and then nobody knows she was being taken.
Right.
And multiple children in the households being violated.
But for one thing, with child protective services, in their defense, or even an adoption agency, my sister works in that field, and I know, and she's had in the past, Deborah, as you know, she had foster children. They're going to come out to your house, and you have to have bedrooms according to the amount of children that's in the household.
Yeah,
so
she had all that. She made sure she brought
been
her
11 children.
Yes,
oh, she made sure she dot her I's across her T's if it was affecting her check.
Bunk beds, that was so tight in that area.
Well, for 11 children, she would have had to have at least 7 bedrooms.
They weren't all in the house at the same time. Well, the one house they live in, I believe, was a 2-family. They all initially it was just Naziah, her brother, her other daughter, and her 2 children. And then she had like 1 foster child. Well, then that foster child went away, and then the 2 came. And then they went away for a while because actually those 2 were supposed to be in respite care or something because they were with another family, but something happened with the family.
Temporary care, like on the weekend.
So she had them for a while, but then I guess the family, whatever they was going through, they couldn't no longer keep the children. So she ended up taking the children and keeping them permanently. And then the children went back to their parent, their abuser, and she abused them again. And then they brung them back to Annette. So she always made sure they was on top of her about that, like making sure there was enough bedrooms and the boys was separate from the girls and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
Most people come back with 2 out of those. Those siblings, it was even another child, which was a baby. That was
their brother.
Was I on mute?
But
I don't know if you guys heard me or not. I hope I wasn't on mute.
It's just a mess.
But his father got custody of his child.
Ended up getting custody of him because she was trying to adopt.
Oh, my bad, y'all.
Yeah,
I was just saying this is like the ugly side of the foster care system. What it's sounding like to me is just some of the side of the foster care system you don't hear, people don't talk about. Just kind of the shuffling of some kids from here to there, and foster care situations where they're supposed to be out of the home or out of harm's way, but they still end up in harm's way.
Cross her eyes and cross her T's, dot her eyes for all that type of stuff. But other than that, no.
Yeah. I want to get to a couple of things, guys. And when Kiwana was talking, I want to make sure that we say this publicly. There are other family members who cared about Naziah and are basically kind of behind the scenes that was trying to intervene in the situation. This was not a situation where this child was completely abandoned by her entire family. that people, you know, maybe did not know what was going on for a time or whatever. Can you all briefly address that, just to let people know there was other people in the family that loved Neziah, was willing to take her in and all of that? Can we deal with that really quickly?
Right, willing to take her in. We would have to fast forward to 2020. Was that September or October 2020?
September.
It was September 2022 when her brother ran away.
Yep, 22.
I contacted an attorney. We were trying to find out why first of all, we were trying to find him. We got threatened by the police, saying that we was harboring a minor. We was going to go to jail. But Kiwana and I had to devise the plan. I contacted an attorney. We was trying to get the boy to tell them what was going on. The attorney even told him, hey, all you got to do is say you're not safe and I can go and file for emergency guardianship. He refused to say that because he didn't want to go against his nana. So we were telling him, you know, your nana is threatening to put us in jail. We had devised the plan. I was going to take the brother. She was going to take Neziah.
Girl, so did.
Because I have boys. So I was like, I'll bring him over here. He's familiar with my boys. Neziah was very close with Kiwana's girls. We had to devise a plan because those children wanted to go. He didn't want to tell on his nana because he was afraid that his sister would end up in foster care or her grandmother would retaliate against her or keep her from him if he was to tell.
Right.
Wow.
So we couldn't devise it. I tried to do it, but he didn't want to tell. And the lawyer advised me. He was like, "It's nothing we can do about it." I mean, he said you can make another report of the abuse, which I did with the police officer who contacted us, threatening us with harboring a minor. We told him what was going on and why he was afraid. They didn't investigate none of that. He said his job was to make sure the minor went back home.
Absolutely. And to add to that, not only did we, you know, try to talk to the workers and get custody of the children, you know, we made preparations. I did with it, where I was living. I lived in a duplex apartment. Wasn't as much room enough. However, the manager was willing to, you know, let me bring her there. She said, whatever you need to do for those children, we won't violate you. Don't worry about it. Do what you got to do. Because I explained the situation to her. And she told me, listen, whatever you need to do, you know, just say the word, because that's a very serious situation. So yeah, we actually, you know, I made preparations. I got the kids ready for this to happen. But as she said, it was, you know, her brother, he was afraid that his sister would go into custody. And not just that, you know, he was afraid of what would happen at home. I mean, they had already been out there multiple times, you know, and you know, you just never know in the mind of a child or someone that young.
He was actually experiencing what was going on. Because he did go back and then he contacted Kiwana and said that he was punished after he went back and ended up leaving again and pretty much never really went back. He's been there, but he has not lived there since he ran away those 2 times. He's basically been out here on his own.
Yeah. That and sure did. And once that situation occurred, that was actually the agreement amongst him and my auntie. You go wherever the hell you going. And we're gonna keep it like that. I'm not gonna let them know that you're not here. Because you know she was receiving funds, and so that's how that went. You know, he was in the street, pillow to post, regularly. You know, we were called because he needed help, cash apps, and so on. You know, we would send them and do as much as we could. You know, being mothers of our own children. You know, my thing with him was, listen, I want to do this the right way, and if this is what I need you to do, so that her or I, you know, can do it the right way. We can get you in school, get the help you need, get you in programs. We can't help you like we want to help you with you being in the street. Okay.
I pleaded with Shannon and her twin to maybe talk, because he said something about he was afraid of juvenile. We were pleading basically just let us take the kids. They're not happy there. You obviously stressed out because you're snapping at them and stuff. Let us just take the kids, even if it's just temporary. Give you a break, maybe give them a new look on life or something like that. Because obviously they're not getting what they need from there. They rejected that offer as well.
Sure did.
She didn't even respond to my offer. Let's say that, but I took that as a rejection, as of no. Because if I was going to do it, the lawyer told me, don't just let her send him. We gonna get temporary guardianship because she might set you up because she was threatening pretty much if you harboring him, you going to jail and all this different stuff. She said we have to do it by the book because this is a very sensitive situation.
Oh, she was threatening me regularly. I mean,
they sent the police to Kiwanis house.
Sure did. Had them circling around my place. Had them calling my son's phone. And then she had the nerve to call me and say, if you see him, you need to bring him home. I said, well, I tell you what, you need to be honest about the abuse that's going on inside the home. I said, you know what's going on. I said, you know exactly why he running away. Oh, no, he just want to be grown. He want to run the streets. He want to smoke weed. Well, weren't you the one that passed him his first blunt? Weren't you the one that passed him his first breeze? He told me because I was his favorite older cousin.
Yeah.
So what was the abuse that was going on in the home for the son? Was he getting beaten? Was like what was going on? And then I don't know if she said it yet. I think she's getting ready to say it. She's gonna say about Annette, aren't you the one that passed him his first blunt? Okay. So grandma is letting the kids get high. Okay. This is all awful.
He would tell me things, you know, and he would expect for that to be between him and I. But let the truth be what it is. They were good with blaming the children and not taking accountability for themselves. Look, you passed them the weed.
They would blame the children and say that they was this, that, and the other based on things that they had been taught. Right. The things that they were mirroring. Everything like Naziah. A lot of people saying that she was fast. Those things that Naziah was doing, not only did Jarvis groom her at a very young age to do, but she witnessed it from the other women that were around her on a regular basis. She learned that behavior. She learned how to be manipulative. She learned, and then she was seeking attention because she wasn't getting attention at home. She wanted to feel something, and he was the only one who was paying attention to her. Obviously, because they didn't know none of this was going on, but all of it was happening on Shannon's phone.
And let me say this. She was absolutely looking for attention. You know what? And today, was it today or yesterday? I believe it was today. They said in those text messages, she was constantly asking, "Am I ugly? Do you think I'm pretty?" Well, let me tell you, she always felt ugly. She had very low self-esteem. And I was the one, you know, I would always say, "You are beautiful." That's how I gave her the nickname Pretty Eyes, because her nickname from her mom is Tuda. And then we also call her Zaza. However, I wanted to go the extra mile and make her feel pretty when I call her name. And so I gave her Pretty Eyes because she had some beautiful, gorgeous eyes.
She's a beautiful girl.
Yes, she was. Beautiful. But let me say this. They added to her low self-esteem. They were constantly saying things to her like, "You nappy-headed. You know, you got nappy hair." So she felt like it gave her a complex because all the other children have fine hair. And I would have to tell her, "Baby, you got black girl magic. You see my kinks? You see my hair? You better love yourself. You are beautiful, baby. Those are nines all through your coils." And I would have to try to make her feel good because they would tear her down by making her feel like she wasn't as pretty as the other kids. You know, you got nappy hair. You bony. These were the things that they was bald-headed self. That was something they said regularly. And to them, it was jokingly. But to her, it was damaging.
Oh, it sounds like some of that might have been purposely for some reason.
They weren't joking. They were trying to chop
business for almost 30 years.
Let me just say this. They weren't joking. They were chopping her down because you know what? Naziah was getting a certain type of attention from Jarvis. Let the truth be told, Jarvis might have been sleeping with Annette, Shannon, and Naziah. Look, mark my words. I would not be surprised to find out they were chopping up Naziah and trying to make her feel bad because she's younger, she's beautiful, and unfortunately in these type of situations where the women run off the men, even Naziah's brother, the other boy children, all are fleeing the household because of this toxic situation with the women. I would not be, they were feeling competitive towards her. So because she was in a position inferior to them or she was not independent, they would attack what they knew they could attack, which was her. And a 13-year-old girl, if anything, is not sure about themselves because they're just learning about themselves. And the mother's not around, so she's probably feeling rejected. The father is not around. He's married with a whole nother family and then passes away. And you got your aunt and your grandmother who are extremely inappropriate. They need to be on trial, just like everybody, just like Jarvis. They did a whole nother level of abuse. Those two women need to be charged with some sort of neglect or something. Definitely the grandmother, but probably the auntie too.
It's something so dysfunctional that it's probably we would never understand because we're so far from this, removed from this situation. But I'm telling you, this sounds so intentional. The negative talk to her, we don't do that. Black women don't call our children, grandchildren, black, ugly, nappy headed, none of that stuff. We build our children.
When people do that, black women or women in general, like because they don't like them. Okay, they don't. They did not like that. They didn't like her. Yes, that was the grandmother. Yes, that was the aunt. They they might have hated Kenyatta. They may have been mad. Who knows? But they didn't like Naziah. They didn't like her at all because if they liked her, they loved her, they would have protected her. And in that sick, toxic environment, she was competition.
I don't care what they look like.
Right.
They're in a black home. You are, for the most part, in a functional, in a real, in a healthy black environment. You're taught that you are beautiful, respect yourself, love yourself. Don't let anyone disrespect you. She was being torn down on purpose. Somebody in that's and now my teacher and my parent side coming out.
Right.
This is really a dysfunctional situation, and that's why Isaiah is where she is today. Until somebody start going into these homes and taking action, full actions. I admire you, Kawana, Janelle. I admire you guys. For doing what you guys did. You did the best that you could do. But I guess now it's going to come to the point where we're going to have to start knocking on doors and saying, I believe, not to scandalize yourself, not to get yourself in trouble, but just keep knocking on the doors. Hey, why can't I come and see them? I want to see my nieces, my cousins, my nephews. I mean, we done had children put in freezers. We done had children put in dump yards, so-called dump yards. And now we have a child that God knows if we'll know where if her body ever be found. An impregnated child, young baby at 13 years old. We have got to put our foot down and go at it. Because this is crazy. I have experienced lots of things at my early childhood development center. And guess what? If it don't look right to me, it's not right. And somebody has to make it right to me. I'm not going to buy blood coming down a child's leg because she must have sit on a tricycle and hurt herself. Oh, no. We're going to do some investigating. And then, let the doctor tell me that. Then I'm okay. So we have to start being, as the old people say back in the day, nosy.
That's right. Yeah. And let me say this.
Okay.
I want to ask.
Can we make it okay to be nosy again? Because nosy will protect some lives. People running around here minding their own business, making it socially acceptable to call people ops and snitches and stuff like that. That's why anonymous calling is so important because people do get ostracized, people do get threatened, people do get their butts beat. People will come for you. So it is very important that you should be able to make anonymous reports because that prevents people from getting involved. But at the end of the day, absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry. I think being on YouTube also, sometimes you talk about certain things and people are like, why don't you stop talking about this? Why are you talking about this? Because it needs to be talked about. Because it needs to be talked about. That's why we're talking about it. Because somewhere someone thinks this shit is okay. That's why we talk about these things.
To that, a lot of times, people will turn a blind eye. They'll know that these things are going on. A lot of women are so desperate to be with a man, because this man is making them feel whatever they need to feel, that they will turn a blind eye. And I know a lot of people, and I'll come back later on and talk about that. But I know a lot of people that know of sexual abuse in the home or pedophiles personally, and they're afraid to turn them loose. It's called Stockholm syndrome, if we will.
Yep.
And they want, they'll still have these people around like their family. They'll protect their name. I mean, I've had people, go back and forth for me about their family members, and because I'm telling, why are you protecting this person? I've lost relationships because I've stood on that. If you are going to protect this person, then you are, again, like someone else would say, a part of the problem, because it's no way in the world I'm going to know that you a pedophile, whether you my uncle or whoever you are, and you're going to come sit at my table and feast with me and my family.
Come on,
it's not going to happen.
Come on
Yeah.
now. Come on.
Come
All
on
that I'm
now.
saying, what goes on in the home, stay in the home. You need to make a difference with that. Tell your daughter or tell your son what goes on in the home. Yes, stay in the home. But if it's unhealthy, if somebody's touching you inappropriately, if somebody is doing things to you to make you feel uncomfortable, those are the things you tell. But if you see mommy and daddy have an argument and we're in an uncomfortable position because daddy or mommy came home too late or whatever, that's something different, and we'll talk to you about it. But all that, what go on at home, stay at home. When somebody's upstairs having sex with a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old, no, we're not going to hide that as Black families, and we shouldn't. No family of no race should hide that. And I hope and I pray that this person gets the justice that he deserved, because he's been to prison for this once. A lesson was not taught. I see no reason for him to be out in society amongst our young children anymore. Anymore.
Yeah, because he went to prison in I think 2004, 2005. He came home like 2014, 2015. The first CPS case admitting abuse was in 2015.
Again.
So he came home doing it, and he came home interacting with Shannon.
I want to interject here, though, ladies, for a second, because you all said so much in that time span. There was, we were talking about how they were teasing her about her being nappy headed and all of that kind of thing. And I can get a visual of that, because Jarvis is light, bright, and almost white, as they used to say.
Good hair.
Biracial or something, I don't know what. And I'm sure that the children has taken on the fair skin and the fine hair.
Yeah, all the children in the hair, even the other children have even Shannon and her sister, they have a very good grade of hair. Desire hair was just more kinkier, and she was very
right. But I'm just imagining, just trying to get a visual of that environment that she was in. And so but it brings me to this thought, and I want to know your thoughts on this, because I want to say this is nothing that has been said, insinuated. Do I want to do this?
So
what I was going to say is, and I've been looking at a lot of comments and all of that all week long, and one of the things that came up a couple of times was that Shannon was jealous. Shannon, the aunt, was jealous of Naziah, knowing that, the relationship between Naziah and.
Okay. I mean, I didn't even get to this part, but it's just so obvious. It's so obvious that she was jealous. What woman is not going to be jealous about your man sleeping with someone else? But the thing is that, let me just say this before we even get any further, because I didn't even get this far. She probably preferred to have him abuse Naziah because it was familiar territory, because she'd been through it herself. And also Naziah was communicating with him in her phone, in Shannon's phone. So Shannon, it's kind of like keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So I hope it doesn't come out that damn Shannon helped. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm quite sure if they knew if something like that happened, they would have probably flushed that out by now, I hope. But she may have been taking out some of the aggression she was feeling towards his other women, because we know he had plenty simultaneously, and used Naziah as kind of her punching bag in theory, because And I'm not saying she was physically abusing her. I don't know that to be true. I'm just saying in a figurative standpoint that chop her down, great downgrade her, also further abuse her by allowing her to be abused, turn a blind eye, even though and her own children are being abused too, to top that off. So but she couldn't control him when he was outside the house. So having it in the house seems normal because she went through that. And also, she could have a little more control over the situation because at least she knew where he was. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. This is like severe pick me.
I hate
This
to
is
call it a
bad.
relationship, but for lack of a better word, the relationship between Naziah and Jarvis. Do you guys have any thought, any knowledge of that, if that's even true, or just any thoughts about, do you think that she would have been jealous of Naziah?
A lot of people have said that. A lot of
Yeah.
people have said that. As you can see, Naziah was jealous of Shannon and the others, but would you be jealous if y'all both was pregnant at the same time?
Jesus.
Right.
Stop
Please,
it.
Lord.
Stop it.
Okay.
I hadn't even heard that. So Shannon and Naziah were pregnant at the same damn time. What? For the same man. Shut your mouth. See, I hadn't even got to this part yet. Baby, baby, baby. Wow. Hold on. We're going to have to run that back just a little bit because that caught me. That like smacked me in the face. What? They dropped that. Oh my God.
I said that. A lot of
Yeah.
people have said that. As you can see, Naziah was jealous of Shannon and the others, but would you be jealous if y'all both was pregnant at the same time?
Jesus.
Right.
Please, Lord.
My God.
Yep. And not
So not acknowledging Naziah is pregnant on multiple levels. Number one, Jarvis is a pedo. That's number one, right? Probably most important to Jarvis. He's already a convicted pedo. He's supposed to be on the sex offender list. He's not checking in. It's just a matter of time, right? Then he got Shannon pregnant again. So he got Auntie and Nisi Poo pregnant at the same time. I want to know, did he ever get Annette? Because Annette is in her 40s. Did he get Annette? Annette is in her 40s. Shannon is, how old is Shannon again? 27? No, Shannon's 31. Annette started having kids at 11. Annette's not even 50 years old. Okay. Jarvis is 41, 42, 40. He's in his early 40s. He might have had Annette. Annette might not have been his type, but Annette, because if Annette was giving weed to her grandson and the grandson's being abused by who? And you heard the judge allude to possibly the boys. So we don't know if he was doing stuff to boys too. We don't really know. This is a very toxic, miserable family circle. This is awful. This is really, really, really bad. No, he's got there were 11 kids. It was like a multi-generational home thing going on. The grandmother, the daughters, and all the kids, the grandkids. But don't think it's because Annette wanted to have her family close, and that was her job. She made foster care and creating guardianship situations her revenue generator to support herself. She probably was lazy, didn't want to have a damn job. Her job was further screwing up these kids, keeping them in the system, keeping them institutionalized, keeping them screwed up so they can be wards of the state, need guardians, and probably go from foster care checks to social security checks. Like, this is diabolical. It really is. It's awful. Okay, let's keep going. But damn, that threw me. That threw me. Wow.
Not only that, but you know, for her to go to the extent of knowing he's a pedophile, knowing multiple times, women have called her and told her their stories. And so, knowing this, if you will go the extra mile to stay with this man, imagine knowing that he's sleeping with your niece. Okay.
And she pregnant.
She loved him to death.
He didn't stop right there. It's a lot of demons in that house. It's a lot of stuff not coming out. I see a whole lot in my head. I'm not gonna even bring it out, but it didn't stop there. It didn't stop. It's a mess.
Agreed. I agree with you, Lori.
There's a whole lot of mess going on in there.
Jarvis might have been paying Annette. Okay. Let me just throw that out in there. Okay. Okay, Scorpion. Me too. You know, I'm a Jersey girl also. There may have been some caking off the lady of the house just to turn a blind eye, and because again, this happened to her, so I guess what's good for the goose, you know what I mean? These people have been socialized into a certain type of lifestyle, and for us, this is unbelievable, disgusting, illegal, awful, toxic, everything. This is, unfortunately, this is a little bit of a culture and lifestyle. This kind of subversive type of situation. So, absolutely, I'm thinking this is less of a one-off. This is part of a subculture that we really don't know a whole lot about, most people, unless you have had to actually endure some of this. This is giving lifestyle. I'm sorry. It really is.
In that house, and they can cover it up to hell freeze over. But it was a whole lot of mess. Everybody knew what everybody was doing, and some of them was doing it together. And I call no names.
I said,
but this is a mess. This is an insane mess. This is a little girl, 13 years old. And I don't want to say it's no fault of hers whatsoever.
Not at all.
She was put into this position. And I tell everybody that's listening out there, if you have a 13-year-old or 10, 11, 12, any age child, boy or girl, this man, from what I understand, he was messing with his own child.
Yes.
So don't just look at the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we have to look at blood relatives now.
Yeah.
And it's like one lady said years ago, she said her child's father was sleeping with her child. That's not uncommon. We hear it a lot now.
That's right.
She said, so now when I hear my new husband, which she's had for many years now, get up, I get up. When he get out the bed to go use the bathroom, I'm woke. I want to hear him come back and get in my bed. But see, I can't live like that. That's not trust.
Yeah.
That's not trust. But that's where we are now.
Janelle, you wanted to say something?
I'm just saying that's what what some of the testimony was. One of the children in the household basically said he was messing with everybody.
Stop it.
Let's talk about the preliminary exam. Let's talk.
Girl, I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. And he was going other places too. And he had other situations, other places that he frequented. This is this is bad. This is real bad.
Talk a little bit about you all's thoughts or what your takeaways have been, what stuck out to you during this week of trauma. I think everybody's traumatized behind listening to them phone records. I want to say something about the people calling Naziah, oh, she was fast, or somebody put in my comments today, the child was the aggressor per the text messages. I just blocked them. Right. I just blocked them because
Naziah was raped.
For people to be, I mean, not only is it insensitive and inappropriate, that is pure stupidity. A child can't give consent for a reason. Neither can they be an aggressor. So listen, and I was really bothered and almost to the point of boiling today when I saw that word fast, because this is something that has been used and specifically when it comes to young Black girls. It perpetuates it in a negative stereotype, but beyond that, this is a way to be able to sexualize a Black girl child.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what happens in that household. It's just been other girls in that, other girls under her neck when things would happen or said, she would say they being fast and this and that. When Naziah went missing and we did reach out to some of the family, oh, she's just out trying to get some dick. She being fast. I'm like, how was you speaking about this child in your blood relative? Shannon was texting people that the other family.
Well, I'm gonna say it like this: y'all should know because you taught her. Y'all should know the granny and the auntie, and even the mama. I hate to say it because y'all all this whole household was nothing but a situation where the children not only has it been groomed, but it was socialized. It was probably it was approved of. I mean, if you got boys running away from the home, something was happening. The boys are leaving. Boys are going to be naturally protective over their moms and aunties, grandmothers. You got a multi-generational house situation, and the boys are fleeing. It's because the boys are being abused and or they are being emasculated because they're having to endure watching the females in toxic situations and they can't stand it, so they leave. They flee, and because their manhood won't allow them to stay in this situation where they are powerless. So it's disgusting.
Was saying the same thing. Well, where did she learn to go out and get it from?
Right.
She was groomed. She was a child.
Yeah.
Because if Shannon told me the information in February of 2022, how long was it going on before that? And then there were other things that before that they probably didn't even tell me about that was going on.
Right. I'm sure it was. Me too.
So somebody tried to tell me, Shannon telling me these types of things was a cry for help. Well, then why when I helped you, you called me an op and said I was trying to break up your family?
Same to me. Oh, I got some, like I said, I got some nasty voicemails.
Ooh, most recently, a recent voicemail. Yeah,
very recent.
All my children are about the same man. Ooh, girl, a pedophile.
Right.
Yes.
She's bragging on having. So Shannon's bragging on having. We got to go back to the court and see the family sitting there. Wow, I can't even believe they bothered to show up with all their shenanigans. She's bragging on having the same man be her baby daddy. Meanwhile, he was going to be baby daddy to your niece. Baby, make it make sense.
Yeah.
And that's multiple times. I said, you got the energy to get on my phone and disrespect me or say whatever lies or whatever you want to come with on my voicemail or my messages, but you don't have the energy to be concerned and put the same energy into what happens to Naziah as everybody else, and you her aunt. I'm trying to understand that.
Yeah. Overstand
it's not. I'm not even gonna say
I'm trying to understand it. Yeah.
It's her brothers and sisters too. They got this thing about like they don't want to go against their mom.
Right. Well, I think that's pretty typical of kids. That's the thing. That's why they're children. I mean, they're easily manipulated. They're easily controlled.
No, these are the grown children.
Oh, okay.
These are talking about grown children
or
who know things and have seen things and noticed things and know what we've been going through for all this time and been telling them, and they are afraid to say anything because they don't want to go against the grandmother. Right. They don't want to go against her.
Yeah, somebody is making the comment, why was he ever allowed around the kids anyway? Was he not registered as a sex offender? We talked about that already, but just a brief answer, he wasn't supposed to be around the children, hence the testimony that was made by particularly Annette, the grandmother. And I believe when Shannon testified this week, who is the aunt with the 5 children with Jarvis Butts, I believe she said it also that when they were questioning them about, you know, him coming into the house or whatever, that's when they started talking about he comes out, he pulls up in the driveway and sits in his truck, and then Shannon goes out, and then if he want to see his kids, all his kids go out. Well, we totally already debunked that lie, because we know that he was coming to pick up those kids, taking them to the shop alone, and all of those types of things. But hold on a second, Janelle, because I want to give you all the floor. I want to talk about what all came out in the hearings this week, what your thoughts are, what your takeaways are, and then I want to ask if you'll give me permission to talk about what happened when they had to turn the cameras off yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Yesterday?
That was Wednesday.
Wednesday, maybe, yeah.
I think it was Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
Okay.
I had to think about it. Tuesday.
Yeah. So let me know if you want to do that. But who wants to go first to talk about their thoughts of the hearings and what has happened so far in the hearings?
You know, the things that were heard, you know, they affected me as her cousin. I'm sure it affected a lot of people. Just hearing her, that she was in that state of mind, that she needed love so bad, or, you know, just wanted to feel pretty or feel loved by someone, that she turned to him for it, you know. And hearing the testimony of my little cousin, you know, that was heartbreaking. But again, she was very brave. And I'm proud of her for getting up there and telling it like it needed to be told. As far as the judge go, she did not come to play. She read every thought that I had been thinking, and everything that I wanted to say, she said it. And so, you know, my hat's off to the judge, because she absolutely seen through everything. She seen through all the mess, all of it, because it's a lot of mess, and she's seen straight through it. It's heartbreaking, you know. It's heartbreaking. Like I said, we knew of abuse, but not to this extent. Never to this extent.
Okay. Janelle.
Yeah, I was shocked about a lot of things that came out in court. Now I understand, like when we were working with and talking to the Detroit Public School Police, DPD people, you know, like we was in there like talking to them and stuff. Now I see why they told us, stand down. We got everything we need. We don't need you doing no searches. You can pass out some flyers, but we got everything we need.
Absolutely.
Because we gave them a lot of information, but we were like hounding them. And they was like, oh, just look, you gave us the information. We following it. Just stand down. Don't go out here in these houses looking. Don't go out here accusing people and knocking on doors and all that stuff. Just stand down. We got everything we need. We just need some time to put it together. It takes time to get subpoenas for text messages. It takes time to get subpoenas from the phone companies. It takes time to run DNA samples and stuff like that. It takes time.
Absolutely.
We knew they told us this before the 14th.
Sure did.
We got the information when it was transferred. We talked to the Detroit Public School Police the Friday after Desire went missing, because we didn't find out until Thursday night. She went missing on a Tuesday. We found out on Facebook post on a Thursday night. We called Friday morning.
Sure did.
And told them everything that we knew and what could have possibly happened, because originally we thought she had ran away. But just to see all of it unfold was a little bit of a relief, because I've been preaching this for a long time and no one would listen. No one believed me. Or they would say, oh, the kids are not denying it. We're not seeing it. The family over there was saying, oh, she's lying. She's not telling the truth. I don't know why she would make that up about him. I don't know what she got against him and my mama, but she lying. Just my truth to come out.
Yeah.
Because they were lying from the beginning. I was pretty much told that a lot of the things that we told them that first couple weeks is what they would have never looked. Annette would have kept on saying she ran away. She would have never said that she was missing. As a matter of fact, Detective Gardner told me when the grandmother said she's missing. I said, no, she lying. She ain't missing. That girl won't be gone for no 3 weeks and ain't contact nobody for no money, not on the social media. but just to see it all put together. And that judge, she saw through all the BS. She saw all the lies and the neglect that we've been trying to tell them was going on. She saw all of it. It's just unfortunate it took for Naziah to be the reason why all this shit came out when we've been telling people for years. This ain't nothing that just happened in February. This been happening for years, and we've been going through it, arguing back and forth with Shannon, arguing back and forth with the different police people we came in contact with, calling CPS, trying to get the kids. So it's a little bit of a release. I can say that a little bit of the weight is off of my shoulders, but we still got a long way to go because I want to know where her body is, and I believe they need to go ask Shannon. Absolutely. Because she know everything that he do. If out of all the women that he been with,
did I not say that? Y'all, hold on a second. Did I not? I'm telling you, I don't know. I hope she's not an accomplice, but if she's that mad, she's that vindictive, she's that salty, and she was also pregnant at the time, it's quite possible she could have, it's some to the grave type stuff, literally and figuratively. She might know. She might know. And that would really solidify how disgusting the grandmother and at least that particular aunt is, because she may know. Wow, that's like I was saying earlier today, like the Madeline Soto case, the mother who was sending the daughter upstairs to go sleep with the boyfriend. Just on that alone, Jennifer Soto needs some charges. But at the end of the day, when Stefan Starnes took her car to dispose of or to go run around, which could have been used to dispose of her own daughter's body, because the cadaver dogs smelt her scent in the car by the wheel well. Okay, we'll keep going for another little bit. I mean, we can finish this up tomorrow, or we can try to ride this on through. I'm gonna try to stop to not interrupt anymore because we have a little less than an hour. And we could probably finish this up if you guys are up for it, but they are spilling all of this family's, I hate to say it like that, tea, but they're giving us, this is like the family stuff that nobody knows until you talk to the family. And just imagine they know this. Just imagine what Shannon could tell. Just imagine, Annette probably knows everything.
Great. Oh my God. Let me, there was a question here and that the audience wants me to pose to you guys. Oh Lord, did I lose it that quickly? Will you ask the guests, what did they think? Oh, okay. The audience's member is asking, Glaw05 asks, what did you all think about Jarvis' sister's testimony? And I want both of you to answer.
Tijuana, thank you for doing the right thing. I know it was very difficult for you to have to do that. And I don't think it was because it was your brother. I think it was more so that you felt like, damn, I saw her. And if I had just took a little bit of extra step, maybe I could have prevented all this. But I really appreciate her testimony. I could tell that it was very difficult for her.
Yeah, she cried the whole, yeah.
Yeah, and I could tell that she was kind of silenced in a way too, where she couldn't really say what she wanted to say. But right. I don't know why that was, or what the
prosecutor. They probably want her to save some of that information for trial.
For trial or something like that. But I really appreciate that she do that. Jarvis's family had already reached out to me when he was charged. Because I am actually a good friend with one of his cousins, and she reached out to me and told me that they was behind us 100% and they supported us and they didn't want no association with him and they were supporting us. And I just really appreciate that. Right. She said it, like it could have been, it was a difficult situation. Like, dang, that's my friend, but it's my cousin. She hadn't really said much to me, But when she came, she explained herself and told me that Jarvis' sister was had made some reports to the police, and she couldn't talk about a lot of them. Not I listened to her or whatever, but it was greatly appreciated. I just, like I've been telling people for the longest, it's not only is Naziah's family hurting, but his family is hurting, because that's got to be devastating to find out your family member, your son, your brother, his other children, to find out your father can do something like this. So that's how I feel about her testimony.
Okay, Kiwana.
I'm gonna let it. I'm gonna let her. I think she did a very good job. I appreciate her testimony. I have a few mixed feelings, but I do respect that she got up there and she expressed what she needed to and spoke against her brother. We needed her to do that, and she did that. So I absolutely appreciate that.
Right.
And so I'm gonna just leave it there for now.
Okay. All right. I wanted to, I definitely wanted to ask about that. How is it? So I'm going to ask again. There was a situation in the courtroom the other day. Can we talk about that or briefly?
Briefly, because it wasn't us who did it. So, but
no.
Are you talking about the child's testimony or?
Yeah, at that time, what happened?
Yeah, there's an article about that.
Oh, okay, great. We can talk about that.
Newspaper really articles out about basically what the child has said.
But we don't. But I don't mean talk about the child's testimony as opposed to
what happened after
an altercation.
Yeah. The altercation that happened after the child testified.
Wait, let me stop you one more time, Janelle.
Okay.
Because I want to preface this. I want to make sure I preface this with the audience so they know what's going on. Those of you that were live streaming with us or any other wherever else all week long know that, we would have to wait sometimes for the court cameras to come on. And on Tuesday, was it Tuesday?
I think it was Tuesday.
On Tuesday, the third day. There, from our end, those of us who work directly in the courtroom, we're waiting on the cameras to come on. They had taken a lunch break, so we came back and waited on them. So we waited or whatever. And then finally, after their lunch break, they turned the cameras back on. Well, when they did, Judge Sabri, which is her name,
in her chamber,
Sabri, said, we have I think it's called a something 5 testimony. But whatever the legal term is, it's indicative of a child testimony. So she asked everybody to turn their cameras off. So we, of course, they shut us down, and I guess whoever was there recording had to turn off. So when we came back from that, finally, because someone in the comments said, how long is this going to take? And I said, this is really strange, because with children, they don't try to keep children on the stand too long, because it's traumatic for them. And then you got to think about a child sitting there looking at the defendant, especially if they're testifying against them and all of that. I said, so I don't understand what's taking so long, because they don't usually keep children on the stand this long. And then finally, the cameras came back on. I said, oh, here we go. And okay, a few seconds go by, and boop, just abruptly it goes off again. So I want you to start from there.
The information was actually given to Kiwana. I don't know if you want to tell what actually happened, Kiwana, or you want me to tell it.
I'll tell it. Upon her testimony, her father was upset, like any father would be. And him listening to his daughter, say the things that she said, and not just the fact that he did the things that he did to Naziah and to another family member, but he tried to do it to his daughter. He was vivid. He was upset, and they had to escort him out of the courtroom because he did exactly what any parent would do.
He did exactly what somebody should have did a long time ago. And I commend him from that. Me and him have not always saw eye to eye, but I commend him from that. Because that was real,
I don't think that the audience knows what happened, y'all.
Oh, yeah. Basically, he tried to get him. He tried to get Jarvis, and they had to send them in there to get him away from Jarvis. Jarvis and his attorneys had to go back in that little holding room with Jarvis. The judge went in her chamber. Everybody was crying.
Yeah.
People had to duck and dodge because he was about to handle the business, and he said he basically didn't care about what was going on.
Yeah.
He
didn't.
Well,
he do not play about his daughter.
No.
But I can tell you guys, in watching the live stream today, Jarvis Butts was limping and had bruises.
Oh, he
on
been
him
limping.
today. Not
he
like
been
that.
limping, but he had those bruises. Somebody clapped him up every time he go to court. Since that arraignment, he get knocked up a little bit.
That's what I said too. Yeah, he.
That's why I keep that mask on.
He was a little beat up the other day. He was pulling that mask up higher and higher. If it go any higher, it's gonna be on his forehead.
Right.
So and I had to ask. I said, the inmates allowed to have TV, so you know they watching.
Oh yeah.
Sure is.
Oh, they know.
Oh yeah. They FaceTime and everything else in prison now.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So they got access. They probably got people who on this live that they called in there and told their family members that's in there, hey, his name is.
Oh yeah. Sure
Oh,
did.
yeah.
So
he's not in he's in a jeopardizing situation right now. He
Well, that's his own fault.
No.
I wouldn't. I would just confess and tell everything.
Yeah.
Because they gonna stay on him until he do.
Around, guys. He doesn't look remorseful to me
at all.
No. At all.
When today they was asking.
Thank you, Tara.
Tell us where.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
He just kept walking. He ain't flinching nothing. But what got me was it was something in the comments the other day about the judge was like, "Is he crying?" I was like,
"He did try to cry. He tried to cry. He tried to cry because he know when he get back to that cell, he's gonna get beat up again."
That was right after that DNA reading, and he was going in the back. They was going to lunch, and she was like, "Is he crying?"
But here's the thing, because and again I'll refer to the comments. I have gotten so many comments like, why was this guy still walking the streets? Why was it, because it just don't make sense. I mean, he's just going around messing up all of these young girls and affecting their lives and whatever to the families and all of that. And it's a genuine question. You don't, of course, advocate for stuff like that, for violence or whatever, but in somewhere down the line, Jarvis Butts was never dealt with properly.
Absolutely.
He has not had a reason to even attempt to change his behavior. When you all were talking earlier and said when he got out of prison for the first charge, I would almost bet money that he came home and resumed his normal activities of abusing children, because it is very, very hard to rehabilitate a pedophile. Let me tell you, I'm talking to the audience now. It is slim to none that you're going to rehabilitate a child sexual offender. Ladies, don't bring these jokers home over your children. You cannot do it. Even if you want to say, oh, well, he did his time, and who am I to judge? And listen, let me tell you something. That is a sickness that is literally almost, you literally almost cannot ever recover from. Recovery is a part of addiction, any addiction. Drugs, some people are addicted to sex, some people are addicted to food. Whatever the addiction is, a relapse, is a part of recovery. So if a sex offender relapse, guess what? They go back to raping, abusing children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to make that point very quickly. Now, let's get to, so we can wrap up, because we got a couple more things to do. I want to talk about cousin Roxy. I want to go there. We got a late start and we didn't cover everything, and maybe we'll get a chance to do this again. I want to talk about cousin Roxy. A lot of comments were in this week while we were watching, or while we were streaming the preliminary hearings about cousin Roxy. Cousin Roxy has been, and I'm calling her cousin Roxy. She has been the visible face, so to speak, of this Naziah situation. And I heard a lot of things. Roxy is the reason why this has gotten national attention. Roxy is the one who brought all of this together and did this and did the other. And that, you know, that was one of the things that I wanted to kind of put forth and make sure that other people in the family love this child. I mean, really love this child. Regardless of what was going on in that particular unit in that home, this family didn't just neglect and abandon Naziah. The people in the family does not agree with how Naziah was being raised, what Naziah was being exposed to, or the other children. So when we make blanketed statements like that to say that family XYZ, well, you talk about a whole lot of people besides those few, you know. So I want to get to this, and I want to make sure that we cover it, because there was a lot of things that was going on, and at some point there was a rift. I think that I think that am I correct in that it started maybe around the time of the when they started organizing the searches for Naziah? Is that what happened?
It was like towards like maybe close to right before he was charged or so, or maybe a little after. I would have to look at my messages to see. But basically, all this stuff got started, like I said, in 2022. Unfortunately, my efforts did not do anything. Other family members who were involved, efforts did not do anything. At that time, we got, like I said, we had a little action where they made her move from the one guy, but it did not work. Unfortunately, I thought reporting to CPS, they're gonna figure it out. CPS, you know, just please don't get involved. But anyways, how all this stuff started most recently once Naziah went missing was basically Kiwana and I talking to Detective Gardner at the Detroit Public Schools Police Department, hounding her pretty much to the point I think she got a little bit aggravated with me, and I got aggravated right back with her. So did Kiwana. And then, you know, they finally started all these searches and this, that, and the other. Someone, well, myself and my family ended up talking to Mark D, and it went social media viral. I guess Roxy befriended Mark D. I've been knowing Mark D since 9th grade. He's done business with some of my family members. We went to high school together for a couple years. So I've been knowing him for a long time, since we was kids. So my family member had did some business with them, and, you know, so they knew who he was. So we talked to Mark. It went social media viral. Roxy, I'm not sure when, but I know like sometime in November she was supposed to be moving back to Michigan or whatever. But she was here doing all that stuff with Mark. And she ended up befriending Mark, and they became close and collaborated or whatever. So, you know, and Roxy just had her own efforts of going, despite the police telling us to stand down or whatever, because they had everything they needed. She had her own efforts, which we were okay with passing out the flyers because the police had told us to stand down. They had everything that they need from the information that we had gave them. So we did that. We continued to post. We continued to pass out flyers. Well, fast forward during all the searches that they did, they're, you know, getting Naziah's name out there, we started receiving death threats and scam artists and psychics and lies, and then people calling us, beware, don't listen to her because she's a scam artist. And someone actually vandalized my house because a lot of Roxy followers believe that we didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not true. A lot of people did a lot of different things in their own way. So, and that was kind of, you know, devastating. I'm receiving death threats. That, you know, my house is being vandalized. My job is being called. Somebody called my job asking for me, trying to get in contact with me and my supervisor. Then the security officer had to come and talk to me, and they didn't put up a thing. If anybody, you know, basically they had to secure me to make sure no one came up to the job looking for me. That was crazy. That was the rift when we all were supposed to be working together in efforts of getting Naziah's name out there, finding Naziah, working with the police with Naziah. And it was a few other things, but that was the main rift that had happened with all that internet stuff. Roxy made some posts on social media about us. But it's real messed up. And it's some other things. Kiwana, I don't know if you have anything you want to say.
I do actually. I have a lot I want to say on that subject. So again, like she said, for the people that's questioning who else cared, we've been there since 2022. We were making calls. We were trying to gain custody. They were denying us of doing the proper investigations because they needed a child to say that they were being abused. The calls continued to go out to CPS. We did not stop. We were still moving, trying to get help. We were still reaching out to workers. We were calling, attorneys and so on. Fast forward, again, like she stated, Roxy was supposed to, and we're planning to move here in November. When the big brother ran away, I'm not going to say his name, in September of 22, a whole lot of Facebook stuff took place. That was a result of me reaching out to Rosalind's mother, which is my older cousin, just to say, hey, I need somebody to talk to. We had begun to talk regularly. Despite the family telling me not to deal with her for various amounts of things or whatever they had going on, I said, you know what? Well, we continued to converse. That day I said, hey, this is happening. She said, you know what? I'm going to call you back. I want to make this call to Annette because they talk regularly. She did that. Once she got off the phone with my Aunt Annette, her daughters attacked her. My Aunt Annette daughters attacked Rosalind's mother on the internet, which is Facebook. The attacks continue to come, and that's when she posts about what was going in the home and what was going on inside the home. Fast forward, a bunch of drama, continued to happen as far as, like she said, us being spoke about on social media. I felt like that was very, that was messed up because, like she stated, we're supposed to be family. We started this. We've been doing this. We didn't just start when Isaiah came up missing, and I put out that abuse was going on. The facts are out. Okay, the receipts are there. It was posted on Facebook, the abuse that was happening in the home. That was in September. It was put out by Roz's mother, what was going on in September in the house. That being said, everybody knew. Okay, if you follow Facebook, I at the time didn't have a Facebook. I'm gonna be real clear. And so I was getting all my information about what's going on Facebook from other people. But those that know, there was a multiple arguments. And I would just say it was messed up that she did that to us because at the time that we were standing our ground against that household, she was still in contact with Shannon. Okay, it got to a point where she was threatening us on the internet or threatening Janelle on the internet to come and kick her ass and whoever's lying on her cousin.
It wasn't me particularly. She said anybody who lying on my cousin.
Anybody who.
So yeah, it probably was one of those where, okay, we gonna look for Naziah, but they want to make sure they, every family got like a Pookie. So we gonna look for Naziah, but y'all not gonna be running your mouth about what's going on with Naziah. But unfortunately, that plan can't work because you can't keep all those secrets. It's not a sustainable situation. So that's probably why there was the one cousin. It's not who started first and who's doing what. It was that cousin trying to make it seem like the family actually really all of a sudden cares, and they're looking and they want to keep, they're probably trying to protect Jarvis at the end of the day. Shannon looked bad because Shannon looked bad.
On my cousin about her baby daddy being a pedophile, I'm coming to kick their ass. Listen, we were really dealing with this in real time. Okay, so fast forward, her agenda versus our agenda. Everybody had their reasoning for wanting. So our reason solely was because we love not just Naziah, but all those children in the house. We were very active in their lives up until the point where I found out about the abuse. She found out the abuse, and they cut us off from being able to come get the children. We were at birthdays, holidays, you name it. Okay, so I don't know how things happened the way they did. I don't know why she would do the things that she would do. I brought them.
They were capping for Jarvis
as far as letting her mom know what was going on. So again, like she said, it was just messed up to say the things that were said about us on social media. There was lies put out there. and it wasn't right. It was
put
very wrong.
our families in jeopardy, our professions in jeopardy.
And let me say this. The reason why I wasn't doing the things that they wanted me to do or she wanted me to do, because we already had the investigators letting us know we got everything we need. All we need y'all to do is not compromise the case and stay out of the way. Anything that y'all do outside of that is jeopardizing the case. The things that they see coming out in court now, that's hanging him. They already had that from the beginning. The phone calls, the telephone calls, the phone numbers that they were given, we gave them. We said when it was with Detroit Public School Police, they were shedding shedding in my eye. They weren't giving them the tablets and phones and so on. We were pressing the Detroit Public School Police and saying, "Oh no, she's got this tablet. She got this social media. Oh, that's not the only phone, honey. They took that phone. That phone was taken around this time. She had a phone that her mother gave her. Y'all got to go into those records and see what was going on." Okay. So we never stopped being active as far as fighting for not just Naziah, but all the children. All the children.
And I'm really shocked about the school.
It was supposed to be a shared effort. It was supposed to be a shared effort, and things just went to a whole.
It just went left for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. And schools are mandated reporters, so I mean, it's not like they have to prove it. Once you tell a school, any school from 0 to 12th and even college, once you tell them that there's some abuse taking place, they are mandated reporters, and that's why I guess they can't come back and tell you what they're doing. We can't. I'm a mandated reporter. I have to report anything that goes on that don't look right or that's not right or that a child tells me or another family member tell me or whatever. But I can't come back and tell. I can tell the officers or child protective service, but I can't come back and give you any information. So I think that's what some things got lost in the loop,
Yeah. And may I add this before we move on? I was very upset. And again, my appreciation goes out for the word getting put out there. Everybody had their own efforts, but I was very upset and displeased when the children's faces was put on social media. They're minors, okay? They're minors. They suffered being bullied. There was jail time given up for having to defend the bullying. The older cousin that was very close to Naziah suffered. They were bullying her. Your daddy this, your daddy that. You got to be
the
real
cousins careful. Going to school and trying to go to colleges. Can you imagine in school you being harassed by other kids because somebody in your family is going through this, and then you're trying to transition into college, and then you being recognized there, naming their names. And we didn't agree with a lot of that. We were trying to keep the other children. No one knew their names or who they, who they were. People only knew who Naziah was, but it was just a lot of mess, and it's just unfortunate because that's not the route that we wanted to take.
Not at all.
And I got tough skin. What other people's do usually don't bother me, but when it started to bother me, when it started to jeopardize my job, I'm a nurse.
That's right. And children.
You calling my job.
And people coming to your house and people throwing threats.
I had to call the Macomb County Sheriff to my house because somebody broke the locks on my front door.
I got the pictures to show it.
It did something to my Ring camera too. So that's troubling. Like just allowing the perception that we were involved. Like for a long time, I was mistaken. They thought I was Auntie Shannon. So I realized, they mistaken me because I'm saying I'm her aunt. They're mistaking me for Shannon. Get that. But to have some people who you're supposed to be working with to basically put things out in the social media that, I'm not going to say they weren't true, but that they didn't agree with, and then have other people jump on the bandwagon of attacking you. That's just like, that's just kind of pretty,
This Jarvis guy has really disrupted you guys' life.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Let's put it where it goes. This Jarvis guy, for years and years and years, have just disrupted the whole family and the community.
Absolutely.
It's not you guys. It's not Naziah. It's this Jarvis guy got out of prison. We tried to help him in a place where he should have been rehabilitated, but he came out and did the same thing and just did more harm. Just did more and more harm. All of this is him. Like the judge called him today, a monster.
A monster.
He's a monster.
He is.
And he needs to go back and not return.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. This whole thing has been devastating for us. And I mean, like, the most devastating, of course, is Naziah. But the next thing will be the fact that we don't have a relationship with the children. Like,
absolutely.
Shannon's oldest daughter, her and Shannon lived with me for about 2 years. Wow. Like I told you, me and Shannon was thick as thieves. She lived with me for 2 years. Her oldest daughter called me Auntie Mommy.
Wow.
Like, my kids miss them. Like, my son is 22 years old now. And he like, what? Like, I had to have a conversation with them about, like, you know, when you was kids and Shannon was living with me, did he ever come over? Yeah, he came over, but he never came past the front door. You know, it was only 15 minutes. But just to hear all this stuff on social media, he pissed like, I wish I had to pay more attention. But then again, he couldn't pay more attention because I knew that he was a sex offender, and I kind of kept my kids from over there. They would be invited to birthday parties. They didn't come. Because I couldn't, I wasn't leaving my kids over there.
No, never.
No, so it was like, I would call the kids, tell them happy birthday, maybe get them something to eat, or we'll swing by as a family, do ice cream and cake, say hello, keep on going, or we just didn't go because I just couldn't trust that.
I don't know a woman. I don't know if you guys do, Deborah, Kawana, Janelle.
You know, there's just some places where you go with your kids and it's like, don't talk to anybody. Don't go do this. Don't do that. Don't go up to the room. If you go up to their room, don't close the door type thing. You know, like you got to be in the midst, you know? And
I don't know a woman that if a man spent that many years in prison for rape, I'm just going to say it like it is, for raping children, would allow them to come into her home and be around.
Okay, Lori, but you're not Lori. And I know Lori's like Lori. It's not you. This is Annette who was pregnant and having sex at 10, the grandmother. Then 7 kids who she allowed and turned a blind eye to let them all experience the same thing. And then turn a blind eye and let her grandchildren experience. That's not you, Lori. Like, as much as we all don't understand it and get it, what we need to understand, which I hope this helps someone in the audience who feels the same way, it's not you. Like, you weren't raised generationally to accept and condone this type of lifestyle. No, this is not a lifestyle, but it actually is this predator type, pick me type, fringe lifestyle. It is. It's not a good one. It's illegal. It's immoral. It's all of those things. But the reason why you can't wrap your head around it is because it's not something that you participate in. So it's like the fact that she's in such debt, like she just can't believe it. It's kind of like it. I mean, you know what's happening because you're sitting here interviewing the 2 family members who are actually experiencing it.
Around her children. I don't understand that part. I don't care. My husband is nice looking. I'm sure you guys have nice looking husbands. But if he raped somebody, I thought he raped somebody, you can't be with me. You can't be around me.
No, absolutely not.
I don't care. The looks has nothing to do with it. It's your.
I don't think Miss Deborah realized the whole podcast we were all up in her twists. Okay. I don't think Miss Deborah realized that her camera was way up too high.
Actions.
Nope.
I mean, I don't understand how somebody let somebody sleep in your house.
Yes,
like
cousin.
Yeah.
Great
low self-esteem. Yeah.
I used to always talk to her like, why is you staying with him? And one time she told me, you don't understand, that's my children's father. I'm like, girl, he everybody daddy. He got babies between your babies.
Okay. So when I was talking about, so to Naziah, yes. To Shannon, it's her aunt and her cousin, not great cousin. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge family dynamic here. Am I on mute? Okay. No. Okay. This is almost finished, guys. So I think we can make it through the rest of it. We're almost done.
No,
I gave her a baby
Look at
shower.
us.
He was supposed to come and so-called help.
She said he everybody's
was so busy
daddy.
trying to rush up out there to go to another girl who was having a baby.
Okay.
Like,
all kinds of overlapping
you don't deserve
kids,
it.
a mess.
These kids deserve better. You could do better.
Yeah.
That's my kid's daddy. I said, and
That's real, Paisley.
And they're
That's
not going to have
real.
any Social Security.
nothing, because
Uh,
he ain't never had no real job.
yeah. That's the whole thing. I think that we need to point out too. And it's a couple things because there's a question that someone asked about Roxy. I want to direct it to Kiwana. But here's something that we need to think about on social media, audience and everyone that is watching us that's under the sound of our voices, is that be careful. People become emotional and things like that. I've had to more or less break up fights in the comments section because people would start going at each other's throat and this and that and the other. But you can't get to a point where you want to take it to real life. These are people are real people and things like that. We forget the fact, and I have to admit, I rarely even think about it with a person like a Jarvis Butts that's such a monster. I can't think of another word off the top of my head. Even with a monster like Jarvis Butts, he has children, innocent children, right? That number one are probably being abused themselves because it doesn't sound like this guy discriminates. And then number two, that have to go to school, interact in their communities and all of that kind of stuff. We have to learn how to manage our emotions and all of that stuff. Nobody should be coming home with their car vandalized and all. This is ridiculous.
That's right.
And this is why it's important that the world starts to see these two ladies because it's not like they weren't, because they were there from day one. I saw it in the comments earlier. These two have been there since 10 toes down since day one. I think I put it on the screen. So somebody out there remembers y'all, and y'all backed away from media exposure. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's what it is. Like, I never wanted my name in lights. I wanted Nazia's name in lights. I'm a quiet person, and because of the job that I have, I work with people who are not guilty by reason of insanity. That are out in the community. So I can't have my name out there like on social media everywhere. I chose to do this to clear it up.
That's right.
I've been quiet and been working behind the scenes. And maybe I would have did things differently if I hadn't been told from day one, stand down. Thank you for the information. We got everything we need.
That's right. That's right. And if you recall our first interview, we had our faces blotted out and our voices disguised.
Because they recommended it to us for our protection because we didn't know what we was dealing with.
Look, at the end of the day, they got to understand the reason why they did that is because you guys know the truth. The reason why the other family member is putting you out there and saying you're not doing anything when you know that you've been doing something, you've been doing a lot of something. Number one, you know why, because you were told not to, but also you know the truth. They don't want you talking. So they're going to make you look bad for not talking because you were told to not talk and you're going to follow directions because you were doing it in the best interest of Nazia. They're hoping that they can silence you because they want to protect Jarvis. They want to protect old nasty Shannon. They want to protect old nasty Annette. That's the only reason why. Nobody doubts that you two. I mean, maybe people didn't know, but it's really nobody's business. But at the end of the day, you know you were involved. You know that you probably put a lot of the documentation down that got a lot of this ball rolling. But them making you guys look bad keeps you guys quiet. That's why. And what's whose story? And what's his story? Who? Jarvis? Girl, that's way back. What's Jarvis's story from the beginning? I don't know. I don't know that they were really here to tell Jarvis's story specifically, more so Nazia, but what we do know is that he is a career criminal. He's got lots of children. He's got a host of baby mothers, and he is a convicted pedophile. That's what we know. That's really what we know. Other than that, I don't know.
With we didn't
Yeah.
know
A
what was going
felon.
on. We was down at the
Absolutely.
police in the meetings with the police chief. We
Sure
was down
was.
there with the council, the community council for Detroit. We was talking to the police commissioner was by our
Yep.
side
Sure
pretty
was.
much every day, on the phone with us almost every single day.
The organized searches.
Yep, give us flyers, talk to us, keep us in the loop about things, express our concerns and stuff like that. We talked to the head detectives a few days after the 14th when everything became televised. They found out about Clinton Township from me.
Sure
They
did.
didn't even know that she lived in Clinton Township.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we was quiet, because they told us, pass out flyers, keep her name out there. We remaining hopeful, but this is a recovery effort.
Yeah, sure did. And we knew that. Yes, absolutely. And I made it clear. I made that clear that that's what they said.
Who go looking for bodies in the water? Go look and do that big of a search the day after announcement in some water. We already knew what it was. They had already explained that what was most likely was going to be the scenario.
Sure did.
So why would we go in abandoned houses and following leads from other social media representatives, falsifying information, go talking, accusing other people and defaming other people's characters who are trying to defend themselves against these allegations and different things like that? Why would we go and do that? So people really got mad at us because we wasn't out there doing a lot of that. But that just was my choice not to do that. And who am I to tell the other person who was doing it not to do it? So,
right.
But that was just real hurtful that it ended up like that. And then to the point where the sheriff is driving past my house every single night to make sure that nobody else vandalize anything or try to break. They broke the lock on my front door and broke my Ring camera.
Yeah. And guess what? Days after that, our lock was off the front door. I have the pictures to show. Sure was. So at that point, we were like, "Oh no!"
I still got the death threats. I got the death threats in my thing. I get so many messages from people like saying off the wall stuff.
It's craziness. And what's crazy to me is, for the judgmental people, I have seen half of them come out. It's easy to sit behind your TV screen or your phone and pass judgment when you're not out doing anything about it. They didn't come out. They weren't at those meetings with us with the police chief and the organized searches and so on. They were behind their phone screens with their wine and their popcorn.
It's a handful of people who have actually went out and did. Well, I can't say for like the search efforts when they was going to the house, because I didn't go to any of that. But as far as the protests that we did and things like that, 5 to 7 people, they know who you are. Thank you, because they've been here since day one. Day one. But as far the people who was doing all that stuff, I ain't never seen those people.
Well, did Jarvis live in Clinton Township or River Rouge area?
Deborah asked me that. Jarvis' papa was a Rolling Stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. He went from one girl house to the other house, to the Shannon house, to the Net house, to the hotel, to the shop, he slept wherever.
The double lives, honey, but he lived quadruple. He had everything down pat. He would be in one lady house at this time, from that time, 2 a.m. Boom, he done left there because she got to.
That's what I said. I said, the one. She said he leave at 2 o'clock. I said, the other girl must work at Chrysler because they get off at 3 a.m. So he had to get home. Then he get up and go and take the kids to school for Shannon. Then go to work and recruit more women while he was at the shop, because he met most of them at the shop. Then go wherever he was going in the afternoon. So I don't know where that man lived at.
Listen, the judge said today when she was giving her ruling, she said, at first I thought you had a mental disability, because it was like you had the mind of a 10-year-old. Did y'all hear her when she said that today? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I can't think of any other word for Jarvis, but scumbag, literal, just awful. But somebody asked a question. Pam Esquire, she's an attorney and fellow YouTuber. She was asking, was Jarvis on the sex registry, and why was he being allowed to be around children? You might have left out and came back in, Pam. There was at some point after he did his prison time that he was not on. Somehow he did not get on the sex registry, correct?
Yeah.
Right. But eventually, through a series of happenings, he did get placed on the sex registry and has been on ever since. And of course, we know.
But his last report date was 2019.
Yeah, he hasn't reported. for that. So the thing that even the police, that's why I said it's a big systemic failure, because they should have been looking for him.
They should have picked him up. He was not what do you call
He
him?
had multiple arrests between that time.
Yeah.
This is his second gun charge since he's been released from prison.
Yeah. This is, I don't know. Is it because he's cute?
Cute.
I mean, I don't understand what's happening. You know,
he slipped through the
He
cracks.
slipped off. He got a gift of gab.
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
You see how he tried to talk his way out of everything. He got the gift of gab, and he's slick, and he know how. You see how he sit in that courtroom and say under the radar. Quiet as a mouse.
But can I ask a question? Why he got all these women with a mask on?
Oh, he don't either. I assumed at first he didn't want nobody to see his face, but now I'm thinking it's because he got bruises.
Yeah, it's because he done got beat up so bad and their lip busted and his teeth knocked out. Because there's no way he can go with all these thousands of people and be scared of germs. Go ahead on. You in jail with 10 or 15 people.
Right. I'm happy she made him stand up at the end, but I wish
I didn't think about that, Laura. Down. Yeah, I'm sorry. Say it again.
I saw the bruises on the side of his face, on the eyes and all that. But I'm gonna say he did it to himself, because I don't blame nobody. I don't believe nobody in that jail cell did that. I'm gonna
listen, and to all the inmates that's tuned in, and if they run across this, thank you. Keep it going.
Go viral. Go viral.
He need to suffer every single day for the rest of his life. And hopefully
he will.
One of some of that suffering and bring him to tell us where she is, because that's my main goal now.
Children. He's a danger to all of our children.
All the way around. Because women ain't safe around them either, especially if they have young daughters.
And I don't think a lot of people know, like everybody know these charges for Naziah, but there are 8 other children. 8 other cases. One of the
so he's not through going to court.
Oh no, he go to court on the 16th to be bonded over for Naziah. Then it's another trial starting on the 17th for the sexual molestation of another child under the age of 13. It's multiple.
Oh, you know what? I did.
Yeah. What's that?
All these charges are not just Naziah. There are other children.
You're right.
Dating back to 2015, who families have came forward, or they are adults now and they came forward, or they're teenagers and came forward and said he did the same.
Oh, he's another one of those. What's that doctor name that went to jail for molesting all them? The sports person.
Oh yeah, the Michigan State or something.
Yeah, he in that category. Same category.
But you know, and then even in this case, he's got charges for 2 other girls, underage, whatever, criminal sexual conduct, combined into Naziah's case. I think a lot of people don't know that either.
Yeah.
And
then my friend, I haven't had the time to look because I've been focusing on the preliminary, but somebody told me it was some additional charges put on him on Tuesday. So I
heard one today. I heard
it was some additional charges on Tuesday. So I don't know.
I'll look it up.
I know a temp charge was put on him with the little girl that testified. That's a
I think that's what it was after her testimony.
After her
testimony, charges at him
with an intent to do sexual.
And he made them watch. He made other children watch.
Right. You know what? That boy need to go on somewhere. Where is his? Who is he? Yeah. That's no one's asked, who is this person? Everybody's out after an innocent family. And I know, and I thank God for Tawana. I think that was her name, coming forth. And that had to be hard because I love my brothers with all my heart. I love my brothers, but I'm not going to stand behind wrong. Yeah. And I admire her for doing that. But if his family has got to be hurting, because this is insane.
Yeah.
Brother, what did we do? What happened to you?
Yeah.
Something. That's what my mind
something happened to him.
What did somebody do to you? Did we not get you the proper help at the proper time? It's something else going on.
Yeah.
It's
a lot. It's a lot. I think we're gonna find out as the time goes on. It's gonna be more and more. This thing is so it's mind-boggling type of insane. Like it's just you couldn't make it up. That you wouldn't believe it if they made a movie out of it. But I want to go ahead and get ready to wrap up. I want to ask Yana and Janelle, let's do this again.
Yes.
Because this case is going to keep going on, and I think that we need to continue a pattern of educating the public and stamping out misinformation and things like that. We'll make decisions about it. We'll touch base and all of that. But I want to, hopefully you guys will come back. So that we can, so that we can keep keep this going. And I think it would help a lot of things. And like I said, the misinformation, and I saw a lot of things today. Somebody thought that the family had put it out, that Shannon and her mother had put it out, that was trying to say that Jarvis was autistic. And I knew it was a situation with an autistic person as it relates to Neziah.
Yeah.
But this is what happened when these little stories get out. It gets so twisted, and you know, it is not even close to the truth anymore by the time it circles back around. So, but I want to close out, and one of the things that I want to do, I always.
Let me just say this. We already know how, it's like telephone. People hear something. First of all, people get into a case, they hear something. There's levels to this. So people hear about something, they spend no time reading, they don't watch any videos, they don't watch any news stories. They just heard something someone told them, and they are not the person. You know how somebody who cannot tell a story to save their life and the facts are always jacked up? That's not the person that you get your facts from on a news story or something, because that there's someone that that you have to double check everything they tell you, because the spirit is there, but the facts are not. Okay. So, one thing I've learned is that you got to do your own research, even if it's just watching a news story. Sometimes, especially with these complicated cases with lots of detail, there are so many people who can't even tell their own damn story. How are they going to tell someone else's? Let's be for real.
Always like to do when I do these live broadcasts, interviews, things like that, is to give out resources. Kawana said something very dear to my heart. Y'all excuse me. This case, I have to say, this is the only case that I never know when I'm gonna bust out crying. I'm not getting ready to cry. It's like this is a tough one. This is a tough one. But Kiwana said something to me earlier today that I think is the most important thing as it stands right now, and that is to get to some solution.
Absolutely.
And I think that the way that we do that is part of the way that we do that is to be able to give people resources and things like that. And I want to direct the audience to the community wall on the channel on Community Advocate Network. I do post if you're in Michigan, especially if you're in the state of Michigan, where we are. I try to give resources for various things to help people, because some of these situations is just like there is a very excellent program called Covenant House here in Detroit. They have 2 locations, I believe, in Detroit and in Grand Rapids, I believe. They take teens up to 24 years old. There are teen homelessness is like much bigger than what I realized. So, and there's a couple of other resources that Ms. Lori Clark Horton has provided for the network. And I have them all posted on the community wall. It's been a minute, so you're going to have to scroll a little bit, or I'll repost them again. But it's very important that you guys find out what is out there and what is available for various situations. I don't care if you need help getting your light bill paid or whatever. But in this case, we want to start finding ways in improving ourselves as a community to protect our children. This insanity, as Lori called it, has to stop.
That's right.
Jarvis Butts cannot operate in our community. It's got to stop. Okay, so we're going to talk some more. I'm not going to preach tonight, y'all. I'm not going to preach tonight, but Kiwana shared with me something extremely important that she is trying to work on, and I'm going to close out with this with a nonprofit organization in honor of Neziah Harris. And I would like for, if you don't mind, Kiwana sharing that with the audience.
Absolutely. I'm working on some projects now to honor Neziah. All proceeds will go towards helping young women women that has been in abusive and sexually abusive situations. And there's more to come with that. I will come back and disclose all information. It's being built up now. And so stay tuned because I'm coming. We're coming.
Amen to
Amen.
that.
Amen.
Amen to that. So I think, you know what? I almost forgot one last thing, because I did find a GoFundMe account on Facebook. So can you all tell us about the GoFundMe?
We didn't start a GoFundMe account at all. Actually, we felt it was premature for a GoFundMe. What we need a GoFundMe account for. Originally, when we discussed the GoFundMe, we said the money would go towards a reward for more information or the conviction or something like that for Naziah. We never can get it worked out with Crime Stoppers and everything, so that's where it went paused.
Right.
I guess the GoFundMe is supposed to be for a funeral or memorial for Naziah. I personally think it's premature. We haven't even got the conviction.
That's right.
So in cases like these, when the police asked us about it, we told them that we were not associated with the GoFundMe. They said because in situations like this, when the children are killed or murdered or whatever, the police have funds for that.
Absolutely.
And not only that, community advocates, different funeral homes, floral shops, they all come together and fund it. So no, we aren't. I am not. And Kiwana, I'm sure you will say the same. We are not associated with a GoFundMe account. Although the evidence is out there and everything, we just feel like, for what? It just, unless it's gonna help find her body or get more information for them to put the clues together to find her body.
That's right.
We're gonna pray that he tells the family and the community where their body is.
Yes.
He's spending too much time in prison. He's going to be in prison the rest of his life. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah, even if he don't get convicted of the murder. You're 42, 25 years onto that. And then if you get convicted of any of these other sex crimes against children, those are additional 25 years. So you're not getting out regardless. So take the murder charge and tell us where she at. Take the plea deal or whatever, tell us where she at.
But unfortunately, Janelle, we've had cases like this before. One that was very dear to my heart. The guy got almost 80 years. I think he got 80 years, and he still won't tell. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a way to keep control. Anyway, guys, we 3 hours. We did it. Can you believe that? I'm kind of surprised. We did a 2.5 hour video in 3 hours. He does, but these type of people, control freaks and sociopaths, like this is legit someone who would qualify because he has a pathology. He hurt, harms, injures, now kills. He's not gonna tell it because that's part of the system of abuse and manipulation, and he might just let Shannon or whoever else in the midst know what's going on. But the trial, the preliminary hearing this week, it felt like a trial. Such compelling testimony. I think I'm going to listen to some of it tomorrow. If you guys want me to broadcast it, I will. But you know what I'm saying? Like these are whole days worth of broadcasts. But I understand if you guys want like a chat room and be able to talk with each other and type stuff. We can definitely do that. But the bind over is the 16th. So I definitely want to, if I'm not, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to broadcast that starting the 16th or whenever his bind over, his actual situation starts. And then they said the next day he's got something else with another. This is very interesting. Anyway, guys, you guys have a wonderful evening. Y'all, it's almost 1:00 in the morning. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all go so we can all get some rest and be refreshed and everything in the morning. We did get snow here, but it melted as it was hit. It didn't do anything. So we might have ice in the morning. That's probably what we have. But anyway, you guys have a good evening. I'm very grateful for the ladies, the host of the program, who was able to get the family, the two, the great aunt and the big cousin over there to Naziah and I hate to make it seem like that, but give us that tea, give us the information that only a family member would know, like just factual. No, well, they did this, and I mean, they were very, very gracious. So this was this was just on some, and we're going and we're telling the truth, like, and we're and that's all. So I really appreciate them doing that. Anyway, y'all have a good evening, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this again later. Okay, all right, y'all take care, have a good night, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, y'all.